Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Global Martial Soul, Start Awakening Deathwing. Chapter 1. On June 1, 2120, at 8 o'clock in the morning, Hangzhou number 3 High School, classroom number 3, class number 7. I'm going to start awakening my martial soul soon. It would be great if I could awaken a martial soul above grade B. Hehe, it's not bad to be able to awaken to AC level, and you are still AB level. I'm afraid you are not dreaming. That is, last year out of the hundreds of thousands of high school seniors in Hangzhou, there were only 1,000 or so awakened martial souls above grade B. Quote. In the classroom, the students were all talking and discussing, their tones revealing tension. In the back row of the classroom, Su Yi, who was seated by the window, also had a slightly faster heartbeat, feeling uneasy. He is not from this world, he is from the earth. It was originally a college student who had just graduated from college. It's just that I drank too much wine at the graduation dinner. I didn't expect to wake up and come to this world as a baby. However, he was originally an orphan, and he didn't have much memory of the earth after crossing. Instead, he looked forward to making a big difference in this world through advanced knowledge. But as he grew older, he discovered that this world named Blue Star, which is similar to the development of Earth civilization, is not as peaceful as he imagined. It turns out that hundreds of years ago, a terrifying creature called a beast appeared in this world. Low-level ferocious beasts can resist bullets. High-level ferocious beasts, even missiles can't do anything about them. In the early days of the appearance of fierce beasts, the human territory was constantly eroded by fierce beasts, and the population decreased rapidly. In the later stage, the invasion of fierce beasts became more and more ferocious, and the population of Blue Star was less than 1 billion, and it was still rapidly decreasing. Fortunately, at a time when human beings are about to perish, someone has discovered a method of human cultivation. It turns out that the appearance of the fierce beast, together with the change of the environment of the Blue Star, a special energy called soul energy appeared. As long as human beings communicate with each other through special methods and awaken their own martial souls, they can absorb soul energy, become soul fighters, and gain the extraordinary power to kill fierce beasts. With the method of cultivation, a large number of soul warriors emerged, allowing human beings to gradually gain a firm foothold and resist the invasion of ferocious beasts. In the following hundreds of years, human beings have deepened their research on martial arts as the source of power, and divided martial arts into 9 levels: SSS, SS, S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. The higher the level, the stronger the Wuhun. Moreover, research has found that the age of 18 is the period when humans are most likely to awaken high-quality martial arts. Therefore, the top powerhouses of the entire Blue Star set the rules. Everyone on the Blue Star can only awaken their martial souls after reaching the age of 18. And today is the day when they collectively awaken their martial souls. I don't know how many high-quality awakeners will eventually appear in our class. Su Yi looked around. Although the students in the class were nervous, their faces were full of excitement. But he knew that after today, no, even after the awakening ceremony later, everyone's fate will be completely different. My requirements are not high, as long as I awaken a D-rank martial soul. Su Yi thought to himself. Although everyone can awaken martial souls below D rank are basically useless, no different from common people. Only martial souls that have reached D level have certain actual combat effects, pass the Soul Warrior College entrance examination, and enter the Soul Warrior University. Become a privileged class with extraordinary power, Revenant. Everyone go to the playground to gather, the awakening ceremony is about to begin. At this moment, the voice of the class teacher Ma Liang interrupted his thinking. The awakening ceremony is about to start, let's go to the playground to gather. Squeeze what? Don't squeeze. Quote. As soon as the words fell, the students in the class crowded out of the classroom, like sharks smelling blood. Forget it, it's useless to think so much now, let's talk about it after awakening the martial soul. Seeing this, Su Yi also took a deep breath, stood up, and walked out with the flow of people. Hangzhou number 3 High School, the playground. With the arrival of class teams one after another, the whole playground soon became dark and overwhelming. In the middle of the playground are the third-year students, and on the two wings of the playground are the first-year and second-year students who came to watch the ceremony. And around the playground, there were dozens of serious-looking soldiers with guns. Judging from the murderous aura exuding from them, if any suspicious persons approached, what would greet them would be a baptism of gunfire. The soldiers looked serious, while the students talked curiously. Many stood on tiptoes and looked towards the front of the playground. There are 20 black instruments with a height of more than 2 meters and full of sci-fi atmosphere. A transparent crystal ball the size of a basketball is suspended in the middle of each instrument. This is the martial soul awakening instrument, and all senior high school students will use it to awaken their martial soul later. On the summit platform in front of the awakening instrument area, all the teachers of No. 3 middle school have arrived. Sitting at the front were the principal and the vice principal, and between them sat a tall man in Green's military uniform. The two principals said something to him with smiles on their faces, but he just quietly glanced at the students on the playground without saying a word. In the process of scanning the students on the playground, there were occasional flashes of light in his eyes. Obviously he was not an ordinary person. Soul Warrior. Su Yi's eyes flashed in the 7th class. Soul fighters are divided into 6 realms: Extraordinary, Disha, Tiangong, Fanghu, Fangwang, and Venerable. Every year, it is the Extraordinary Revenant who goes to each high school to direct the awakening ceremony. Even though this is just the lowest level among soul warriors, after the common people awaken their martial souls and become awakened, they need to practice for several years to reach this level. What's more, this is the commander in charge of the awakening ceremony. It should not be the first level of extraordinary of common, at least the strength of the 6th or 7th level of extraordinary. What a domineering soul fighter, even the principal can only sit on the two sides. Li Yao, the best friend behind him, also found this soldier, and couldn't help expressing emotion. Today, the battle between fierce beasts and humans is still going on. With extraordinary strength, soul fighters who resist the invasion of beasts are naturally a privileged class. After finishing speaking, Li Yao came up again, and said with a smile. "Ah Yi, are you nervous?" "Nonsense, today is the time to decide your fate, are you not nervous?" On such an important day, even Su Yi, who has lived for 2 lifetimes, felt her heart beating faster and her palms were sweating. "Yo, I didn't expect Brother Yi, who has always been calm, to be nervous sometimes." Li Yao let out a strange laugh. Although Blue Star's top powerhouse stipulates that everyone must awaken their martial soul at the age of 18. But before that, everyone will receive corresponding training in fighting skills, even this relatively common Hangzhou No. 3 high school is no exception. Combat classes are held every 2 days, and practical classes are held once a week. And the one in front of me was the one who beat the 4 fighters to the ground without changing his face in the actual combat class. He was able to draw a tie with the extraordinary first-order instructor who did not use his soul power and purely used fighting. You have a good mentality, and you can even joke around. It seems that you are not nervous at all. Su Yi cursed with a smile. However, under Li Yao's interruption, his nervousness really eased a lot. "Why am I nervous? If I can't become a soul warrior, at worst, I will go home and inherit the family property after finishing college." Li Yao said indifferently. Hee. Su Yi rolled her eyes. "This best friend of mine has tens of millions of assets in his family, so he does have this capital." Time passed slowly, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, the headmaster's voice came from the loudspeakers around the playground. "The awakening ceremony is starting now. Students in each class are asked to awaken their martial souls according to their student numbers under the arrangement of the class teacher." After the voice fell, the students on the playground suddenly became restless. Especially those first-year high school students who watched the awakening ceremony for the first time, even looked around curiously. Most of the senior 3 students looked tense, obviously extremely nervous. "The awakening is about to begin, everyone, don't be too nervous, just calm down." In front of the ranks of class 3 and 7, class teacher Ma Liang calmed down everyone's emotions, and then shouted. "No. 1, Zhou Ziyang, come out." A tall and thin boy in school uniform walked out of the line. As the first batch of awakened ones, it could be seen that he was very nervous, and there was a little sweat on his forehead. There are a total of 20 classes in the third year of high school in Hangzhou, and each class has one student, that is, 20 students. These 20 people walked out of the class team and stood in front of the corresponding awakening instruments in front of the playground. Relax and put your hands on the crystal ball. A deep voice sounded. It was from the man in military uniform on the summit platform. He didn't use a microphone, but the voice was clearly heard by every student. Under the gaze of everyone, the students in front of the awakening instrument put their hands on the awakening crystal one after another. The first batch of awakeners are in place. Start awakening. The moment the majestic voice of the man in military uniform fell, the 20 crystal balls in front of the playground erupted with brilliant light at the same time. Under the shroud of this ray of light, all those who stepped forward to awaken closed their eyes. The other students on the playground also held their breath, waiting for the first batch of awakening results. The entire playground quickly fell into silence. After a while, Zhou Ziyang, who was shrouded in the light of the awakening crystal in front of Class 7, was the first to react abnormally. In the void above his head, an illusory purple orchid emerged out of thin air, automatically without wind. Purple orchid, F-rank martial spirit. The instrument's electronic beep sounds. Oh, it really didn't reach D level. Su Yi, who was watching Zhou Ziyang closely, and everyone in Class 7 sighed. The F-class martial spirit is also the result of the awakening of most people present. Iron shovel, F-rank martial spirit. Nepenthes, D-rank martial soul. Wooden staff, F-rank martial spirit. Quote. The electronic prompts of the awakening instrument sounded one after another. Soon, the first batch of everyone was awakened and returned to their respective classes. And Zhou Ziyang also walked back to the team with a pale face. His face was full of disappointment. Seeing this, the class teacher sighed lightly, shook his head, and didn't say much. This is something that everyone has to go through, and even if he comforts him, it is useless. Next, number 2, Zhang Chang. Number 6, Mr. Tang. AA. Number 15, Wang Chen. AA. The awakening ceremony continued, and one student after another stepped forward. During the awakening process, some people were sad and some were happy. Those who awakened AD rank or above martial soul were naturally extremely pleasantly surprised, while those who awakened an F rank martial soul were ashamed. Su Yi, who noticed the emotional changes of the people around her, gradually calmed down. That's right, even if he can't awaken AD level or higher martial spirit, it's still not bad for him to be admitted to a top university and become an elite among the common people by virtue of his first grade in liberal arts. Time passed quickly, and soon, it was Su Yi's turn. No. 23, Su Yi. Following the voice came the gaze of the class teacher Ma Liang. The awakening of the martial soul has something to do with normal training. Students who usually perform well in fighting classes are basically awakened D-level martial souls, and few of them are below D level. And Su Yi, as the double number 1 in fighting training and actual combat in the third grade of high school, he is naturally looking forward to Su Yi's martial soul awakening. After all, there are only 6 awakened people above D level in their class now, which is too short of the 8 in the next class. Ah Yi, come on. The buddy Li Yao encouraged, and Su Yi, who had already calmed down, nodded, and immediately walked forward. It's Su Yi's turn, and I don't know what martial spirit he will awaken. It shouldn't be lower than D level. After all, Wang Li, who was beaten by Su Yi in the next class, has awakened AC level martial spirit. It's useless to guess now, you'll know later. Quote. Under the curious eyes of everyone in Class 7, Su Yi put his hand on the awakening crystal ball. Contrary to imagination, the crystal ball is not cold to the touch, but rather warm, like a hand warmer. The 23rd batch of awakening, start. The words of the man in military uniform on the summit platform fell, and the awakening crystal burst into brilliant light again. Afterwards, Su Yi felt a warm energy pouring into his arms. After entering the body along the arm, this warm energy began to travel around. Arms, body, head, warm energy flowed through one by one, making him as comfortable as soaking in a hot spring. Slowly, Su Yi closed her eyes. After he closed his eyes, as if he had come to another space, the noise of the surrounding students disappeared, replaced by silence. Strangely, he didn't notice anything unusual. Instead, under the effect of warm energy, gradually fell into a dream. In this dream, he turned into a huge black dragon with golden eyes, possessing the power to destroy the world, soaring wantonly between the sky and the earth, spraying flames towards the ground. The whole world surrenders at his feet. Earth-splitting tiger, AD rank martial soul. Long iron sword, E-class martial soul. Shadow cat, AC rank martial soul. Quote. Outside, the sound of awakening instruments sounded one after another, but the man in military uniform on the summit stage was a little disappointed. In the 23rd batch so far, there is not even a single B-level martial soul awakener. The highest is only the C-level Shadow Cat martial soul. Quote. As the commander-in-chief of the 3rd high school's awakening ceremony, the more students who awakened their advanced martial souls, the more likely he would get more rewards. However, judging from the current situation, the probability of getting rewards is extremely low. The last few people should have no hope. The man in military uniform shook his head. Before awakening the instrument, only 4 people remained with their eyes closed. But he knew that the probability of a martial soul awakener above grade B appearing among these 4 people was extremely low. Commander Wang, Suyi from Class 7 has the best performance in actual combat among our current class of students. He should be able to awaken a good martial soul. Quote. The principal on the side said quickly. Oh. Commander Wang hurriedly looked in front of number 7 awakening device, and sure enough, he saw a handsome young man standing there straight with his eyes slightly closed. Generally speaking, the better the actual combat performance, the higher the probability of awakening the advanced martial soul. When he was in high school, he was among the best in actual combat performance, so he awakened AC level martial soul. And Suyi, who is number 1 in actual combat, might really be able to give himself a surprise. Thinking of this, a look of anticipation reappeared in Commander Wang's eyes. Mimosa, an F-rank martial spirit. Steel sword, D-rank martial soul. Bronze spear, E-class martial soul. Soon, 3 of the remaining 4 people had awakened, leaving only Suyi standing there. Why hasn't Suyi awakened yet? It's a bit strange, the rest of this group have all awakened. It's not an accident, is it? Quote. Suyi, who is number 1 in fighting in actual combat, is well known throughout the 3rd high school. At this time, seeing that he hadn't awakened his martial soul, the students on the playground started talking quietly. Look, what's on top of Suyi's head? Suddenly, someone shouted in surprise, attracting the attention of everyone around. Next, they saw a scene they will never forget. In the sky above Suyi's head, monstrous golden flames filled the sky, and a phantom of a black dragon with a height of more than 20 floors slowly condensed. The ferocious dragon head, the wings that cover the sky and the sun, and the bright golden red eyes that contain no trace of human emotion. It's a dragon, a black dragon surrounded by flames. The lingering flames of the giant dragon caused the temperature of the surrounding air to rise sharply. The students who were closer were sweating profusely, and their backs were drenched in sweat. Roar! The black dragon raised its huge and ferocious head, opened its mouth wide, and let out a dragon roar like thunder. The eardrums of everyone in Jen's playground were tingling, and many people directly covered their ears and squatted down, showing pain on their faces. After a while, when the dragon chant ended, everyone in the playground came to their senses. FK, what a fierce dragon! I feel like my eardrums are about to burst just by roaring. Could this be an S-rank martial spirit? There was a strange phenomenon when I awakened the martial soul, and I didn't run away. This is definitely an S-rank martial soul. Hiss, S-rank martial spirit, Suyi has soared into the sky. Quote. Martial spirits are divided into beasts, plants, and weapons. Dragon-like martial souls belong to the extremely rare type of martial souls of the myriad beasts. Once awakened, they are at least A-level. Judging from the visions that have appeared now, this is definitely an S-level or even SS-level martial soul that is higher than A-level. Such a rare spirit shocked not only the 1st and 2nd year students, but also the 3rd year students. After all, there had never been such a big commotion in the awakening ceremony in the past 2 years. Martial spirit vision. Commander Wang on the summit stage was overjoyed. Filled with blue soul power, he jumped up from the summit platform, directly spanned more than 10 meters, and landed in front of the playground, about 20 meters away from Su Yi. "Commander!" The soldiers with guns around hurriedly shouted. As soldiers, although they were also shocked by the fierce black dragon with a height of more than 20 floors, they did not panic at all and still stood upright. "You strengthen your guards and prohibit anyone from approaching the 20-meter range of number 7 awakening device." "Yes." The surrounding soldiers took action one after another, and drove some students who were enduring the high temperature of the flames and wanted to watch it up close, out of a range of 20 meters. Dragon Martial Soul, and it's still such a huge phenomenon. S rank is affirmative. It depends on whether it is S level or SS level in the end, and even SSS level is not impossible. Quote. Commander Wang looked at Su Yi, who was sheltered by the phantom of the huge black dragon, and he couldn't hide the excitement on his face. With the existence of this student, the reward for directing the awakening ceremony this time must be stable. Damn it, Yi actually awakened a dragon martial soul. In Class 7, Li Yao looked at Su Yi, who was sheltered by the black dragon, in shock. He knew that his best friend was usually very fierce, but he thought that if the other party awakened a B-level martial spirit at most, he would be invincible. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be an S-rank martial soul, and probably more than an S-rank spirit. Surrounded by the giant black dragon, Su Yi didn't know the shocking reaction of everyone on the playground. He only felt a warm golden red energy flooding his whole body. And my own meridians, bones, muscles, cells. Under the effect of this energy, it will increase rapidly. The strengthening process is not painful, but very comfortable, so Su Yi can't help but immerse herself in it, unwilling to wake up. At the same time, Hangzhou Mayor Building, reception room on the top floor. Here is the place where Chief Shi specially used to receive distinguished guests. At this time, in this luxurious reception room of more than 100 square meters, 2 men and a woman with impressive momentum are sitting on simple chairs arguing. This year's S-level awakeners in Jiangnan Province, our imperial capital Soul Warrior University needs half of it. Half. It's a good idea. Have you asked our South Sichuan Soul Warrior University? Hehe, what's the use of your arguing now? If the list of awakened people is counted at noon, don't they have to rely on their own methods? The plump beauty among the three sat on the chair and stretched, and the close-fitting tutor uniform immediately outlined a thrilling arc. The other 2 middle-aged men snorted coldly when they heard this, and immediately stopped talking. Indeed, the special recruits mainly rely on the means of their respective schools, and it is useless to argue fiercely now. When the debate was over, the entire reception room fell into silence. Not long after, Hangzhou Mayor Zhou Chong pushed open the door and walked in with an apologetic expression. Sorry, I had a meeting just now, so I'm late. Because of the existence of fierce beasts, all countries in the Blue Star are vigorously cultivating soul fighters. Huasha Kingdom is no exception, and there are more than 400 soul warrior universities built for this purpose. Among the 400 soul warrior universities, there are 3 top soul warrior universities. Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University, Southern Sichuan Soul Warrior University and Demon Capital Soul Warrior University. In order to grab the best quality students, these 3 universities arrange tutors to go to the capital cities of each province to select students every year on Awakening Day. Once the awakening ceremony is over and the awakening list is obtained, these mentors will act immediately to recruit students who have awakened advanced martial arts. This year, the 3 major schools in Jiangnan Province also arranged tutors, namely Kai Wei from Magic City Soul Warrior University, Luo Heng from Emperor Capital Soul Warrior University, and Li Yang from Southern Sichuan Soul Warrior University. These 3 people all need to be received by him personally. After all, among these mentors from the top Soul Warrior University, the lowest rank is Tiangong level. Certainly cannot arrange for the reception of common people. President Zhou is too polite. The awakening ceremony is not over yet, how can it be late? The bald man Li Yang said with a smile. Luo Heng and Kai Wei also nodded in agreement, their attitudes were very friendly. In China, each base city will have 2 giants. One is Dutong, and the other is Xichang. Dutong is mainly responsible for managing various matters related to the soul warriors in the base city. He is powerful and is generally a Tiangong level soul warrior. As for the chief, he is mainly responsible for administrative management, and his strength is weaker, and the general extraordinary rank is enough. Although the chief's strength is not strong, he is the leader of a base city after all, so they naturally have to give enough face. It's good that everyone can understand. Zhou Chong smiled slightly, then sat down on the seat. It's almost half an hour before the end of the awakening ceremony, and it will take more than an hour for the awakening list to be counted. During this period, Zhou can only chat with everyone. Because of the source of students, every time the admissions teachers of the 3 major schools would have some quarrels. There were even fights over it a few times. With the fighting power of a Tiangong-level soul warrior, this is a terrible fight. His conference hall has been rebuilt several times. Therefore, besides receiving these people, the most important thing for him to come here is to prevent them from fighting again. Roar! At this moment, a loud dragon chant sounded. A black-red giant dragon phantom exuding a terrifying aura suddenly condensed in the distant sky, and the accompanying endless flames dyed the nearby sky a bright golden red. Martial spirit vision. The expressions of the admissions teachers of the 3 colleges who saw this scene through the window changed at the same time. I didn't expect that there were students in Hangzhou who condensed such a huge martial spirit vision during the awakening ceremony. Our imperial capital's Soul Warrior University is going to decide on this person. Golden Crown and Black Eagle. Luo Heng was the first to react. After being ecstatic, his whole body was filled with black soul power, and he broke through the window directly. A-level martial soul Golden Crown Black Eagle condensed out from behind him, flapped its wings, and led him to fly towards the direction where the giant dragon vision appeared. HMPH, the reaction is quite fast. Kai Wei snorted coldly, her plump breasts undulating slightly. Unfortunately, your Golden Crown and Black Eagle are not as fast as mine after all, Kai Liangjian. With a single step, Kai Wei flew out of the window, and a red simple chained long sword condensed at her feet out of thin air. Immediately afterwards, like a sword fairy, she stepped on the red sword, dragged up a red sword shadow, and quickly disappeared. The 2 disappeared into the sky one after another, and the remaining bald man Li Yang was dumbfounded. He has no means of flying. If I knew it earlier, I should have asked the school to send an instructor who has the ability to fly over. Li Yang gritted his teeth and knew that now is not the time to regret. Forget it, I'm not too slow when I run. Li Yang's whole body was filled with khaki soul power, and he turned into a phantom and jumped out of the room. The vision of the martial soul. I didn't expect such a huge vision of the martial soul to appear. The 3 left. In the empty reception hall, Zhou Chong stared out the window, extremely excited. Every year in Hangzhou, there will be S-level awakened people with martial spirit visions, but the general visions are only limited to a few meters around the awakened people. It was the first time he had seen such a huge martial spirit vision that shocked the entire city of Hangzhou. This is definitely an SS-level martial spirit. No, it's even possible to be an SSS-level spirit. Zhou Chong's voice trembled a little. SSS-level martial soul, that is the top martial soul that has been rarely seen in the entire Huasha kingdom for more than 100 years. Such an important matter must be notified to Dutong. Thinking of this, he quickly took out his mobile phone and made a call. Yang Dutong, is your operation over there? It's almost there, what's the matter? It's like this, a vision of a martial spirit with a height of more than 60 meters has appeared in our Hangzhou city. I suspect that there may be an SSS-level awakened person. SSS-level awakener. The voice on the other end of the phone changed suddenly, and after a few screams in the distance fell, the voice sounded again. Okay, the last few people have also solved it. Which school is the awakened one from? Looking at the direction in which the vision appeared, it should be a student from number 3 high school. Okay, I'll head over there right away. After hanging up the phone, Zhou Chong also breathed a sigh of relief. The combat power of the Tiangong rank is no joke. These school teachers used to be able to fight for S-level awakened people, but this time there are SSS-level awakened people. I am afraid they will fight even harder. His strength is not strong, and he can't restrain those Tiangong-level admissions teachers. If they all go out together, then nothing will go wrong. Director Li, there seems to be a SSS dragon-like martial soul in the Jiangnan province enrollment area I'm in charge of. I'm applying for the highest enrollment authority. Over the city, Kai Wei, who was flying rapidly with her Chilean sword on her feet, spoke to the phone. She flew very fast, but all the wind power was blocked by the faint red soul power lingering around her body, and the wind sound was also blocked out, which did not affect the quality of the call at all. SSS level Dragon Martial Soul. The other end of the phone was taken aback, and then replied firmly. Approve. SSS level Martial Soul. Kai Wei, you must recruit this student to our school. Clear. A gleam of joy appeared on Kai Weijiao's pretty face. It is rare to apply for the highest admission authority in more than 10 years. And once the application is successful, it means that she can use the school's apex resources within a certain limit. Each of those resources is extremely rare. In this way, she also has the confidence to compete with the Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University with the most abundant resources. In the playground of number 3 middle school, due to the abnormality of the martial soul caused by Su Yi's awakening, the awakening ceremony was suspended, and all the teachers and students in the school couldn't help but look up. No way, this flaming dragon is really too domineering. Of course, many girls cast their eyes on Su Yi, who was sheltered by the flaming black dragon, and their eyes were extremely hot. Whoosh! At this moment, Kai Wei, who practiced her sword with red feet, flew from the sky and landed on the playground, attracting the attention of many students. Damn it! Flying with the martial soul on your feet. This is a strong Tiangong rank. Hiss, look at her clothes, it seems to be the tutor clothes of the Demon City Soul Warrior University. The tutor of the Demon City Soul Warrior University. What is she doing here? Are you stupid? Didn't you expect this vision of the martial soul? She must want to recruit Su Yi in advance. The arrival of the plump beauty Kai Wei immediately caused a sensation. You must know that the Magic City is just next door to Zhongnan Province, and many of the students present know about the famous Magic City Soul Warrior University. The awakening is not over, please stop. Just when Kai Wei was about to step forward, Commander Wang stopped her. Kai Wei frowned upon hearing this. I thought that I would be the first to come to take the lead, but I didn't expect that the awakened person has not yet finished awakening. Although helpless, she still walked aside and waited. After a while, Luo Heng also arrived here, and he was also stopped. So, when Li Yang, who was late, arrived here, he saw Kai Wei and Luo Heng standing helplessly in the open space beside the playground. Although you two came quickly, it seems useless. Li Yang laughed, the soul power lingering all over his body subsided, and then he looked at the black dragon surrounded by golden red flames with some emotion. What a gorgeous golden red flame! What a domineering black dragon! With this power, the SSS class must not have escaped. Is it still necessary for you to say that? Kai Wei rolled her eyes. She got here first, was of no use, and is now in a rage. Hehe, it seems that later we will have to rely on our own means. Luo Heng was not in a hurry, he looked leisurely. Among the 3 colleges, the one with the richest resources is the Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University. He is confident that he will win Su Yi with the best conditions. The 3 colleges all came here for Su Yi, our school is famous this time. On the summit stage, the principal and vice principal were extremely excited. You know, this is the tutor of the 3 major colleges. The strength is at least Tiangong rank. If this incident gets out, number 3 high school will definitely have better students next year. Hey, the 3 top Soul Warrior colleges, the Demon City Soul Warrior University, the Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University, and the Southern Sichuan Soul Warrior University are all here for Su Yi. Oh, I'm so envious of Su Yi, I really want to be noticed by the tutors of the 3 colleges. Hehe, want to be noticed. That's fine, just awaken an S-rank martial soul. With the arrival of the instructors from the 3 colleges, the discussions among the teachers and students on the playground became more and more heated, and Su Yi, who was still sleeping, was awakened by a reminder. It has been detected that the host has awakened the martial soul, and the ultimate martial soul system is starting. System. Su Yi, who just woke up from a deep sleep, woke up instantly. As a traverser, he naturally knew the existence of the system. But in 18 years, he had lost all hope. Unexpectedly, the system would be activated after awakening his martial soul. The system boot is complete and the panel is turned on. The prompt sounded again, and a virtual panel that others couldn't see appeared in front of Su Yi. Host. A Su-Yia. Level. Awakened. Soul point. A0 A. Martial Soul. Deathwing SSS level. Passive talent. Advanced Fire Element Affinity, Rage, Dragon Body, Dragon Might, Prehistoric Flame, Forbidden. Active talents. Magma Flame 1/1, Lava Burst, Forbidden, Cataclysm, Forbidden. Soul skill. None. It's actually an SSS level martial soul. Su-Yi's eyes brightened with excitement. Although the actual combat training results are good, the probability of awakening the advanced martial soul is higher. However, his goal was to awaken a D rank or higher martial spirit. Unexpectedly, he awakened an SSS level martial spirit. This is really developed. SSS level martial soul plus system, it's hard not to be strong. It's just that this Wuhun Deathwing is very similar to a game character from the previous life. Su-Yi was thoughtful. He can already feel his martial soul now, and the appearance of this martial soul is exactly the same as the big cousin in the game in the previous life. In particular, there is actually a cataclysm in the active talent obtained after awakening the martial soul. Forget it, there is no point in pursuing this, as long as it is an SSS level martial soul. Su-Yi was in a good mood, and immediately asked, "System, what function do you have?" Killing fierce beasts will give you soul points, which can be used to upgrade your level and learn soul skills. Single quote. It's actually a way to fight monsters and upgrade. Su-Yi frowned, not surprised but delighted. You know, to become a soul warrior, one is doomed to fight fierce beasts to the death. But now, he can upgrade his level and skills by killing fierce beasts, which can be said to be very powerful. This is to train me to become a fighting madman. There was a smile on the corner of Su-Yi's mouth. He doesn't dislike fighting, otherwise, he wouldn't have become number 1 in both fighting and actual combat in number 3 high school. After confirming the function of the system, Su-Yi glanced around and found himself surrounded by a wave of golden red energy. Through this energy, one can vaguely see the teachers and students outside. Roar. At this moment, the phantom of the huge black dragon uttered a dragon cry again, and then disappeared into the world, revealing his figure. A Deathwing, SSS level martial soul. Single quote. The phantom disappeared, and the instrument's electronic prompt sounded immediately. FK. It's actually an SSS level martial soul. Deathwing, what a domineering name. Have you noticed that after awakening, Su-Yi has become much stronger, and his pupils seem to have a faint golden red. Really, so handsome. Quote. Hearing the prompt sound from the electronic equipment, the whole playground boiled instantly, and most people were shocked by Su-Yi's awakened SSS level martial spirit Deathwing. There are also many girls who keenly noticed the changes in Su-Yi's appearance and figure. Of course, this is also very normal. After the martial soul is awakened, some strengthening will be carried out on the body of the awakened person. What Su-Yi awakened was an SSS level martial soul, so this kind of strengthening is naturally more obvious. Commander Wang, Su-Yi's awakening is over, can we find him now? Kai Wei in front of the playground couldn't wait to ask. It stands to reason that she is a soul warrior of the Tiangong rank, so she doesn't have to be so polite to an extraordinary rank. But the other party is still the commander-in-chief of this awakening ceremony, and the country is standing behind him. With the blessing of this layer of identity, she dare not move easily. Okay, I'll take you there. Commander Wang pondered for a moment, then nodded. Generally speaking, no student can be taken away until the awakening ceremony is over. But he also knew the importance of SSS level martial souls, so naturally he didn't dare to delay these mentors. On the other side, under the eyes of everyone envious and respectful, Su-Yi walked back to her class. Congratulations, Su-Yi, congratulations, you have awakened an SSS martial soul. The class teacher Ma Liang's face turned red, obviously excited to the extreme. The teacher of an SSS level martial soul awakener, this is the highest honor. Ah Yi, you really surprised me. The buddy Li Yao couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He knew that his best friend was soaring into the sky now. For this, he is genuinely happy for Su-Yi. It will depend on your performance later. Su-Yi chuckled. At this moment, a deep voice came from the front. Su-Yi, come here. Turning his head to look, he saw that in front of the 7th squad, the soldier who was sitting on the summit platform before was looking at him with a smile on his face. And beside him, there were two men and a woman wearing different tutor uniforms. At this time, the three of them all looked Su Yi up and down, their eyes full of curiosity. Go. Seeing the head teacher Ma Liang nodding, Su Yi walked out of the class. Good morning, Commander. Su Yi saluted respectfully. Commander Wang smiled and nodded. Come on, let me introduce to you. Under Commander Wang's introduction, Su Yi soon knew the identities of the three. Li Yang, Kai Wei, and Luo Heng are all admissions teachers from the three top colleges. Hello, three teachers. While Su Yi bowed and saluted, she was also secretly surprised. He knew that each year the three major colleges and universities would select students shortly after the awakening ceremony. Unexpectedly, it came here directly now. It seems that the movement of the Wuhun vision just now was indeed a bit loud. Yes, not bad. The three of Luo Heng who saw this scene nodded slightly. As admissions teachers, they don't know how many talented people they have seen. Some geniuses, after awakening their advanced talent, think highly of themselves and are extremely arrogant. A polite genius like Su Yi makes a good first impression. Su Yi, you should know the purpose of our coming here. As long as you enroll in our South Sichuan Soul Warrior University, you will immediately get an admission fee of 3 million, and you can also get an intermediate soul power cultivation method. Quote. When the three major universities recruit students, they generally do so in private. But Li Yang, who loves talent, can't care about so much anymore, and said directly. This is the highest standard of genius treatment in their school, and it may not be used once in more than 10 years. If none of this can attract Su Yi, then he has no other options. FK, 3 million Huasha coins. You'll be a millionaire now. Hiss, is this the value of a genius? Terrible, it's really terrifying. Quote. Li Yang didn't deliberately lower his voice. The voice clearly reached the ears of the students who were at the front of the playground, and immediately aroused everyone's amazement. Especially for many girls, their beautiful eyes exude splendor. 3 million Huasha coins, intermediate soul power guidance method. South Sichuan Soul Warrior University is so rich. Single quote. Su Yi was also surprised. What is the concept of 3 million? The annual income of a common family is around 70,000 to 80,000, or 3 million, and it takes a family to survive for nearly 40 years without eating or drinking. In addition to the huge amount of money, the intermediate soul power guidance method was also one of the reasons why Su Yi was surprised. You should know that the soul energy guidance methods practiced by soul fighters are divided into entry level, primary, intermediate, advanced and perfect level. Entry-level psychic channeling can be found everywhere, but primary psychic channeling is only available to families with revenant backgrounds. And the intermediate soul power guidance method is generally only available to large forces. Without special channels, common soul fighters can't buy it even if they have money. But now, as long as you enroll, you can get it directly. I have to say that Southern Sichuan Soul Warrior University is really too proud. Su Yi, as long as you enroll in our Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University, you will not only get an entrance fee of 2 million and intermediate soul power training method, but also all the basic pills you need for 4 years of university will be provided by our school. Luo Heng also threw out the conditions of his school, and he seemed extremely proud when he spoke. Provide all the basic medicines. Kai Wei and Li Yang were taken aback at the same time. Pills are an indispensable auxiliary means for soul warriors to practice. Proper use can greatly increase the speed of soul warriors' practice. But no matter what kind of elixir, the price is relatively expensive. Of course, basic pills are cheaper, usually 30,000 to 40,000 a bottle, but there are 6 full years of study time in university. After all, it would cost at least 5 or 6 million Huasha coins to provide these pills. Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University, this time it's all about spending money. Money, cheats, and matching pills, this is the treatment of a genius. Commander Wang on the side was amazed. Back then, he could be considered a man of the hour when he awakened AC-level martial spirit. Although it was not enough to attract the 3 major universities of spirit warriors, there were still some universities with higher rankings that offered him olive branches and promised a lot of benefits. But now compared with Su Yi, the benefits that made him very proud back then instantly become boring. Since you are all so generous, then we, the Demon City Soul Warrior University, can't show weakness. After the two colleges reported their conditions, Kai Wei also smiled, turned to look at Su Yi, her sexy red lips moved slightly. Our school's entrance reward is very simple, 1 million Washa coins, intermediate soul power guidance method, and a chance to enter Yunlong Pool. Yunlong Pond, what is that? When Su Yi was wondering, Luo Heng beside him screamed out. Yunlongqi, are you willing to do it? The number of places to enter Yunlongqi is very limited, and there are only 3 places in their school every 2 years. And for this quota, students with dragon spirits in the whole school need to go through extremely cruel competition to get it. With such a big bargaining chip, even their school couldn't easily throw it out. SSS level Martial Soul Awakener, what are you reluctant to do? With her left arm around her chest, Kai Wei explained to Su Yi. Yunlong Pond is a special place for strengthening dragon martial souls. Although your awakened Deathwing is already the most apex SSS level martial soul, I believe that after going to Yunlongqi it will be strengthened a lot. I don't know, are you satisfied with the conditions of our school? She has the apex admissions authority, so the quota of Yunlongqi can naturally be used. Speaking of which, this quota, even among the resources that can be used by the Apex Enrollment Authority, is also the rarest batch. But use it on Su Yi, it's worth it. This. Su Yi hesitated. To be honest, although the conditions of the 3 top academies are very good, he didn't know much about these 3 top academies before awakening. Naturally, I dare not make a blind decision now. After all, this is related to my study and practice in the next 6 years. Choose the Southern Sichuan Soul Warrior University. That's 3 million Washa coins. Hehe, 3 million Washa coins are worth 6 years of pills. If you want me to say, you should choose the Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University. Why do I feel that the Demon City Soul Warrior University is better? That Yunlongqi, it sounds very powerful. Quote. Before Su Yi could make a decision, the students on the playground started discussing and began to analyze the pros and cons for him on their own. Haha, it's very lively here. At this moment, accompanied by hearty laughter, a figure rushed from the entrance of the playground. His speed was extremely fast, but in the blink of an eye, he crossed a distance of hundreds of meters and came to the playground. And Su Yi was able to see the appearance of the person. This is a middle-aged man wearing a black military uniform with a Chinese character face. From this middle-aged man, I can feel a strong sense of oppression. Yang Dutong. Seeing the man, Commander Wang quickly saluted him with a very excited expression. Dutong, but the heavyweight figure in charge of the entire military force in Hangzhou, rarely sees him once a year. Yang Dutong nodded slightly, and immediately looked at Kai Wei and the others. Teachers, the awakening ceremony is not over yet, talking about things here somewhat disturbs the ceremony. How about we continue somewhere else? It's also good to give our students some time to think about it. Quote. Kai Wei and the 3 looked at each other. Indeed, the current movement has affected the normal progress of the awakening ceremony. And seeing Su Yi's appearance, it takes time to consider and choose, so they all nodded. Okay, Commander Wang, you continue to preside over the awakening ceremony. This classmate, let's go. Quote. Yang Dutong said to Su Yi with a smile. He could tell that this was the student who had awakened the SSS martial soul. Okay, Su Yi nodded and left here together under the leadership of Yang Dutong. After watching Su Yi and his group turn and leave, the students on the playground suddenly let out a sigh. It seems that they have no chance to witness Su Yi's final choice of school. Since Yang Dutong didn't know where the number 3 high school teaching building was located, the principal led a group of people to the campus in the end. On the way, Yang Dutong admired Su Yi very much while talking. He laughed heartily from time to time, without any pretensions at all. If his subordinates knew about this scene, they would definitely be astonished. You know, Yang Dutong is notoriously serious. Su Yi, the 3 major colleges, go to the one you like, I believe, they will not force you. Yang Dutong said with a smile. The first purpose of his coming here was to determine who the student who awakened the SSS martial soul was. The second purpose is to allow Su Yi to choose with confidence and prevent him from being influenced by external means. After all, once the soul fighters of the Tiangong rank let go of their aura, it is definitely not something the common awakened can bear. Yang Dutong, can you introduce to me the characteristics of the 3 colleges? I didn't know much about these 3 schools before. Quote. Su Yi pondered for a moment and asked. Hee, this little guy is quite cautious. The 3 of Kai Wei who were walking in front couldn't help showing a faint smile when they heard the words. Although the 3 colleges are the top colleges in China, there are still some subtle differences. Therefore, they didn't feel uncomfortable with Su Yi's approach, but rather recognized it. After all, the more cautious you are, the higher the probability of survival will be when you fight in the wilderness where the beasts are rampant in the future. What are the differences in the characteristics of the 3 colleges? Yang Dutong thought for a moment, then pondered. The teaching resources of these 3 colleges are similar, so let me talk about the differences in teaching direction. Southern Sichuan Soul Warrior University is more inclined to training and theory, and there are more theoretical courses. The Demon City Soul Warrior University is more inclined to actual combat, and there are many actual combat tasks. As for the Imperial Capital Soul Warrior University, it is more balanced, taking into account both. Of course, this is based on the comparison of the 3 colleges. Compared with the common Soul Warrior University, no matter what aspect, the 3 major colleges have crushing strength. Quote. For this evaluation, the first 3 teachers did not have any objections. After all, the other party was telling the truth. And Su Yi also nodded slightly, and thoughtfully said, I see. The ultimate martial soul system needs to hunt fierce beasts to collect soul points, which requires extremely strong actual combat ability. That being the case, he already knew which school to choose. On the top floor of the teaching building, the principal of the 3rd middle school left here wisely after bringing everyone into the office. He knew that, as a small high school principal, he was not qualified to intervene in this scene. Has Su Yi thought about it? No matter which school you choose, we will support you. Kai Wei leaned lazily on the seat, revealing her proud figure wrapped in the self-cultivation tutor uniform. Li Yong and Luo Heng also looked at Su Yi, the expectation in their eyes was undisguised. Su Yi nodded, then said, I choose the Demon Capital Soul Warrior University. After finishing speaking, Su Yi looked at the disappointed Li Yong and Luo Heng again. Teachers, I'm sorry. As top universities, the teaching strength of the 3 colleges must be top-notch. But what he needs is super fighting power. Moreover, he also has some expectations for the Yunlong Pond that teacher Kai Wei promised. Therefore, the Demon City Soul Warrior University is naturally the best choice. Why? Luo Heng, admissions teacher at Imperial Soul Warrior University, sighed. I knew you would choose the Demon Capital Soul Warrior University. Yunlongqi is an irresistible temptation for all soul fighters with dragon-like martial souls. Kai Wei, congratulations, the only SSS martial soul awakener in the past few decades has been recruited by your school. Although Li Yong felt a little regretful, he also knew that this result could not be changed. After all, compared with the other 2 schools, the conditions of their school are indeed much inferior. After finishing speaking, the 2 didn't stay any longer, and left here directly. At this time, the awakening ceremony has ended, and the awakening list is about to be counted. Since the SSS level awakeners cannot be obtained, the other S level awakeners still have to continue to fight for them. These 2 finally left. Seeing this, Kai Wei breathed a sigh of relief, and then handed over a contract. This is our school's special recruitment contract, which records in detail all the privileges and benefits you have, including some precautions. Take a look, and if you have any questions, just ask them. But Yunlongqi's quota is not on it, it's a verbal promise, isn't that a problem? Quote. No problem. Su Yi nodded. The quota for Yunlongqi was proposed under the witness of teachers from Dutong and 2 other schools. It is impossible for the Demon City Soul Warrior University not to fulfill its promise. The contract that Kai Wei handed over was not long, but Su Yi still read it very carefully. Every item of payment will be checked carefully, and the capital will be asked to help check it from time to time. This little guy, are you still afraid that I will cheat him? Kai Wei, who noticed this scene, couldn't help laughing secretly. I have a deeper understanding of Su Yi's cautious character. After half an hour, Su Yi read the entire contract. Teacher Kai, there is nothing wrong with the terms of the contract. Okay, let's verify your genetic sequence. Kai Wei nodded and took out a delicate black instrument. This is a genetic testing instrument. Everyone's genetic sequence is different, and only with the genetic sequence can a person's identity be determined. Therefore, the more important contracts do not use the signature used, but directly verify the gene sequence. Dick, the collection of genetic sequence information is complete. Su Yi, a student from Hangzhou No. 3 High School in Jiangnan Province, has entered the sequence of special recruitment number 01 into the system. Not long after Su Yi put his finger on it, an electronic notification sounded from the instrument. Student Su, you are now a member of our Demon Capital Soul Warrior University. Kai Wei showed a satisfied smile, paused, and said, all special students need to report to the school in advance, and I will take you away in 5 days. In the past few days, you should say goodbye to your relatives and friends. Quote, leave in 5 days. Su Yi was a little surprised when he heard this. The Soul Warrior College entrance examination is on June 9th, but today is only June 1st. In other words, when he left, the Soul Warrior College entrance examination hadn't even started. This is too urgent. Although a little surprised, it must be the school's intention for Kai Wei to do so, Susuyi didn't say anything more, and nodded in agreement. By the way, this is the intermediate soul energy guidance method for you. You can try to practice it in the past few days. Kai Wei handed over another book that was haunted by the faint red soul power. On the cover of the book, there are 7 big red characters written in cursive, Scarlet Flame Soul Energy Guidance Method. Soul Energy Guidance Method. Su Yi's eyes lit up, and he quickly took over the cheat book. You know, this is the key practice method for soul warriors to improve their strength. And it's not the entry level or primary of common, but the extremely rare intermediate. Okay, after everything is done, I'm leaving too. Kai Wei will continue to compete with the other 2 schools for the remaining S-level awakeners in Jiangnan Province. So, she put away the contract and equipment and didn't stay any longer. After talking to Yang Dutong, she stepped on the Chilean sword and flew out of the window. Following things, this is a powerful soul warrior. Looking at the beautiful figure that quickly disappeared into the sky, Su Yi couldn't help but be filled with emotion. Even in this capital city of Jiangnan Province, it is rare to see a Tiangong-level soul warrior. Unexpectedly, he saw 4 of them in one day today. And the formidable strength shown by these people shocked him even more, as if he could be suppressed directly with just one look. One day, I'll be there too. Single quote. Su Yi clenched the secret book with his right hand, his heart was surging. The 9th rank of extraordinary, the 3rd realm of Earth Sha, it is extremely difficult to become a Tiangong-level soul warrior. But with the system and Deathwing, he has sufficient confidence in himself. On the side, Yang Dutong, who saw this scene, nodded slightly, his eyes full of appreciation. He is experienced in acting, calm in character, and does not lack fighting spirit. Such a character quality, coupled with the newly awakened SSS-level martial soul. In the future, Su Yi will definitely grow into a big shot that even he needs to look up to. If you invest now, you may be able to give yourself a pleasant surprise in the future. Thinking of this, Yang Dutong laughed and said, SSS-level martial soul, even in the entire Huasha kingdom, it is rare to see it for decades. After today, the news of your awakening will definitely spread throughout China, and we in Hangzhou will also gain a lot of fame. As the governor, I have nothing to reward you, so I will give you a soul skill. Quote. After speaking, Yang Dutong handed over a cheat book. Soul skills. Su Yi froze for a moment. Immediately realized that the other party was showing favor to him. The other party was originally one of the 2 giants in Hangzhou, and it would be of great benefit to him to make friends with the other party. Therefore, he was not hypocritical, and accepted the cheat book directly after thanking him. And Yang Dutong also showed a smile when he saw this. Su Yi's ability to accept this cheat book meant that the other party accepted the kindness. This kindness may come in handy in the future. On Awakening Day, there will be a holiday directly after the awakening ceremony ends. So, when he left the principal's office, the students had already gone home from school. In this regard, Su Yi, who returned to Class 7, also breathed a sigh of relief. If the people in Class 7 hadn't returned, I'm afraid they would be directly surrounded. But Li Yao didn't wait for me, I don't know what kind of martial spirit he awakened yet. Forget it, call him again when you get back. Quote, Su Yi returned to her seat, picked up her school bag, and left the classroom directly. Su Yi, you're back. As soon as she left the classroom, Su Yi met Ma Liang, the head teacher, in the corridor. Teacher Ma, Su Yi shouted hastily. Ma Liang nodded, with a smile on his face. 3 major colleges, which one did you choose in the end? The University of Soul Warriors in the Demon City. Modu Soul Warrior University. Not bad, not bad, it's quite close to Zhongnan Province. Remember to come back more often when you go to university in the future, so that I can set an example for your younger students. Quote. Ma Liang said with a smile, but his heart was a little sad. After all, Su Yi is the most excellent student he has taught in his 10-year teaching career. He is still a little bit reluctant to graduate and go to school. Don't worry, Mr. Ma, I will definitely come back to see more. Seeing Ma Liang's thoughts, Su Yi couldn't help but make a promise. After his parents passed away 3 years ago, Ma Liang, the head teacher, cared a lot about him. He can feel all of this. By the way, Mr. Ma, the Demon City Soul Warrior University wants me to report in 5 days. Can I ask for leave and not go to school these days? After a pause, Su Yi spoke again. Of course, you have been specially recruited, so there is no need to come to school again. Ma Liang nodded. In fact, many students who have awakened good spirits will choose to ask for leave after the awakening day, to prepare for the Soul Warrior College entrance examination in 8 days. Thank you, Mr. Ma, the student will leave first. Su Yi nodded, bowed solemnly, then turned and left. What a good boy. Looking at the back figure which was taller than before, Ma Liang couldn't help expressing emotion. In these 3 years of high school life, he has always watched Su Yi's performance. The cultural courses are the first, and the actual combat is also the first. Now, he has entered the top Soul Warrior University in the country. He couldn't imagine how high his student would reach when they met next time. The community where Su Yi lives is not far from Hangzhou No. 3 High School. After walking for less than 20 minutes, he entered the community and walked to the door of his house. Crack. Su Yi inserted the key into the lock, and turned it lightly. The door opened with a sound, and the scene inside the room was unobstructed. Sofa, TV, coffee table. Although the furnishings of the entire room were no different from those of the common family, it seemed a bit empty. Not popular, very quiet. Seeing this, Su Yi sighed lightly. His own parents were buried in the mouth of a ferocious beast during a trip 3 years ago. From then on, he lived alone. Although so many years have passed, he has gotten used to being alone. But looking at this empty room, I still feel a little lonely occasionally. Now that I have awakened an SSS-level martial spirit, I must kill all the beasts and avenge my parents. Su Yi, who has always been calm, had a rare look of ferocity on his face. In his previous life, he was an orphan and never felt the warmth of his family. Therefore, in this life, he cherishes the emotions of his family extremely. And for the beast that caused the death of his parents, he naturally hated it extremely. Of course, you need to have enough strength before that. With a movement in his heart, a thin layer of golden red soul power emerged from Su Yi's body, and the domineering Deathwing martial soul also faintly condensed from behind him. Under the lingering of this soul power, the golden red in the depths of his eyes became brighter and more gorgeous. Boom! He swung his posture and punched hard, and there was an explosion out of thin air. Is this the power of Deathwing? Sure enough, Su Yi's eyes lit up. After awakening Deathwing, he felt that his whole body was strengthened a lot. Unexpectedly, now a punch out of thin air can directly produce a sonic boom. This is something only an extraordinary level soul warrior can do. Just awakening, I have such a powerful strength, what if I enter the extraordinary level? How amazing power should I have? Su Yi muttered to himself. Extraordinary level. As the first level of soul fighters, after awakening the martial soul, they still need to practice for a long time to reach it. And this practice time, partly depends on one's own talent, and partly depends on the soul energy guidance method. The more advanced the soul energy guidance method is, the faster the cultivation speed will be. Fortunately, I now have the intermediate soul energy guidance method, so I don't need to practice the entry-level soul energy guidance method distributed by the state for free. Su Yi took out the red flame soul energy guidance method from his backpack, sat on the sofa, and looked through it. The soul energy channeling method is very rare. Even he has only been exposed to entry-level channeling methods before. It is naturally very novel to get the intermediate soul energy guidance method suddenly. After careful reading, it took him almost an hour to flip through the entire book. The soul energy guidance method itself is not very difficult, the most important thing is to actually use it. Putting down the books, Su Yi sat cross-legged on the sofa, closed his eyes slightly, and recited formulas in his heart. The breathing is also according to the 9 long and 1 short breaths recorded in the Kai Yan soul energy guidance method. Soul energy is a kind of energy floating between heaven and earth. What a soul warrior has to do is to absorb the soul energy into his body and turn it into his own power, a soul power. The more rare the soul energy channeling method is, the longer the process of absorbing soul energy will last. Under the effect of formulas and breathing methods, strands of invisible soul energy condensed from the heaven and earth, and then poured into Su Yi's body, converted into golden red soul power, rushing through the meridians of his whole body, forming a cycle. As time passed, this soul power cycle gradually stabilized, and his breathing also gradually stabilized. If Kai Wei saw such a scene, he would definitely be surprised. You must know that it takes more than 10 days for common people to practice the soul energy guidance method to feel the soul energy for the first time. Even an ordinary genius needs 2 or 3 days. As for Su Yi, the first time he practiced, he directly absorbed the soul energy, and even transformed it into his own soul power. It's simply monstrous. Just when Su Yi was practicing for the first time, a headline titled, Deathwing of SSS Martial Spirit was born, a shocking vision of martial spirit. A video went viral on the internet. In this video, the sky is filled with flames, and a ferocious black dragon stands between the sky and the earth, extremely domineering. The number of comments below is also increasing crazily. What a terrifying martial spirit vision, I can feel that sense of oppression through the screen. SSS level martial soul. After so many years in China, we finally have an SSS level martial soul. God bless Hua Sha. Does anyone know whose awakened martial soul this is? Our Tianao group wants to sign a cooperation contract with him. I know, he is a student of Hangzhou No. 3 High School, and his name seems to be Su Yi. Hey, Tianao group, isn't that the force created by the person who sealed Wang Chang? Quote. The number of views of the video has increased crazily, and the comments below have also increased. And many top forces and families have also noticed this video, and have arranged for people to go to Hangzhou, hoping to sign Su Yi, provide resources during his college years, and work for him after graduation. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. Global Martial Soul. Start Awakening Deathwing. Chapter 11. Hangzhou, Zhongbei Lakeside Community. This is one of the villa districts in Hangzhou, and the people who can live in it generally have small assets. At this time, in one of the villas, an old man was sitting on the sofa in the living room, watching TV leisurely. Jingling. Suddenly, the phone rang. The old man glanced at the caller ID and connected the call. When she was about to speak, the other end of the phone spoke first. Dad, did you see the Wuhun vision in our city at around 9 o'clock this morning? The vision of Wuhun after 9 o'clock? No, I was in the study at that time. What happened? It's Xiaoyi. I saw on the internet that the one who awakened the vision of the martial soul is our family's Xiaoyi. The voice on the other end of the phone was extremely excited. He awakened an SSS level martial spirit, Deathwing. Deathwing, SSS martial spirit. The old man stood up suddenly, his right hand holding the phone trembled slightly. Today is the awakening day, and there are 3 juniors in their Su family who have awakened their martial souls. Originally, he wanted to wait until the family dinner at night before asking about their awakening status. Unexpectedly, such a big surprise came just now. Are you sure it's really our Xiaoyi? The old man suppressed his excitement and asked. For such an important matter, you still need to confirm your identity. After all, in Hangzhou, there are many people with the same name and surname. I have already called Xiaoyi with the second and youngest, but no one answered. No one answered. The old man frowned. I'll try. After finishing speaking, the old man directly hung up the phone and dialed Su Yi's number. Do. The bell rang 6 times and no one answered the phone. Forget it, I'll go directly. The old man frowned, put away his phone and left the villa. Now he can't wait to find out whether his grandson Su Yi is really the SSS level martial soul awakener. On the other side, Su Yi, who was sitting cross-legged on the sofa, was still practicing. His eyes were slightly closed and his breathing was steady. The originally invisible soul energy actually condensed around him, shining with a faint white light. Along with breathing, it was absorbed into his body and turned into the soul power of golden red. At this moment, white soul energy suddenly became agitated, pouring into Su Yi's body at a speed twice as fast as before, making bursts of sound. Call. The sound became louder and louder, and at the back, there was a sound like howling wind. And Su Yi, who was practicing, seemed to feel something, frowned slightly, and ran the red flame soul energy guidance method with all his strength. The soul energy became more and more restless, and a small soul energy hurricane actually formed in this living room. And Su Yi, this is Feng Yan. Boom. After an unknown amount of time, after a dull explosion, the hurricane of soul energy in the room dissipated. Su Yi also opened his eyes, and a golden red light flashed from the bottom of his eyes. Host. Open black lens bracket. Su Yi close black lens bracket. Level. Extraordinary first order. Soul point. Open black lens bracket 0 close black lens bracket. Martial soul. Deathwing SSS level. Passive talent. Advanced fire element affinity, rage, dragon body, dragon might, prehistoric flame, forbidden. Active talents. Magma flame 1/1, lava burst, forbidden, cataclysm, forbidden. Soul skill. None. The first time I practiced, I actually directly entered the extraordinary stage. Su Yi's eyes flickered, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This is really great. The extraordinary rank is the first rank of a revenant, and there are 9 ranks in total. It will take a year or 2 for common awakeners to enter the extraordinary stage. As for him, it took only half an hour. Entering the extraordinary stage, I have officially become a soul warrior. Su Yi was in a good mood, stretched out his right hand, and the soul power in his body moved slightly. With a bang, on his right hand, a bright golden red flame suddenly condensed, radiating terrifyingly high temperatures outward. Martial soul passive talent, advanced fire elemental affinity. With the support of this talent, he can freely mobilize the surrounding fire elements for his own use. Advanced fire element affinity, berserk, dragon body, dragon might, primordial flame, the 5 passive talents, advanced element affinity has been verified. What effect do the remaining talents have? And what does the band behind the talent mean? Quote. With a pinch of Su Yi's right hand, the golden flames turned into dots of light and dissipated out of thin air. Talent is the ability only the top martial souls possess, which was popularized by the head teacher Ma Liang before his awakening. Innate abilities also need to be explored by the awakened. Generally speaking, even if it is a top martial soul, there are only 1 or 2 talents, which are relatively easy to explore. And his passive talent plus active talent, except those marked as forbidden, there are 5 in total. It would be a little troublesome to explore one by one. I don't know if the system can directly display the detailed information of talents. Thinking of this, Su Yi tentatively said in his heart. System, display the detailed information of Wuhun talent. Exploring talent information. Talent information exploration is successful. The system prompt sounded, and a pale blue light curtain suddenly projected out. Sure enough, it can display talent information. Su Yi's eyes lit up, and he quickly checked the information recorded on it. Advanced fire elemental affinity. Freely use the fire elements active around the body. Berserk. The longer the battle, the greater the increase in combat power, the limit increase is 300%. Dragon body. Every time you advance, your physique will be strengthened, and eventually you can reach the strength of a giant dragon. Dragon's might. Causes a certain degree of deterrence to all creatures. Lava flame. Spew out a lava flame. Note. Can only be released once a day. Lava burst. Create a pool of magma, causing damage and slowing down. Level requirement, D tier. Prehistoric flame. Fire damage has been greatly increased. Level requirement, Tiangong rank. Cataclysm. Trigger a planetary cataclysm, and the whole world will tremble under your feet. Level requirement, immortal. Single quote. Hiss, these talents are too strong. After reading the description, Su Yi was very excited. Of these talents he possessed, except for Long Wei's description, which is a bit inconspicuous, each of the others is very heaven-defying. Especially the passive talent Rage. That's a threefold increase in combat power. The more you fight, the stronger you get. Not to mention that there are still several talents that need a higher level to be unsealed, and the power may be even stronger. However, the innate skill of Cataclysm should have no chance to be used. Su Yi glanced at the last skill, and then was a little puzzled. Immortal Realm. Isn't the highest level of soul fighters reaching the Supreme Realm? Is immortality higher than the Supreme Realm? But this is also possible. The 6 realms of soul warriors are just the most widely circulated realms. Quote. Su Yi thought for a while, but didn't pay much attention. After all, he himself is only the first order extraordinary right now. Supremacy, immortality, etc., are still too far away from him. Phew, after becoming a soul warrior, you can also practice soul skills. Su Yi took out the cheat book given by Yang Dutong from her bag, and when she was about to read it, the mobile phone on the coffee table suddenly lit up, and an unknown number called. The phone screen was on, but no ringtone was ringing. This was specially set by Su Yi before practicing. He knew that his awakening of an SSS-level martial soul would soon be known to others. Those big forces will also contact themselves like a cat smelling fishy smell. However, he had no intention of cooperating with other forces at all, so he naturally didn't want to be disturbed by these people. In fact, this is also the practice of many awakened apex martial arts geniuses. After all, basically no one wants to sell themselves for some resources when they just set foot on the road of Soul Warrior. Regardless of the caller ID, Su Yi carefully looked at the cheat book in his hand. The cheat book as a whole presents a simple dark black, but the words, Extreme Flame Knife, on the cover are dazzling golden red. Just like the flames he condensed just now. Extreme Flame Crazy Saber, a profound level intermediate soul skill, practice conditions, affinity with the fire element. This sword technique condenses the power of fire. Open the cheat book. The first page is the general description of the cheat book. It's actually a mysterious soul skill. Seeing this, Su Yi couldn't help being slightly surprised. Soul skills are common attack methods used by soul warriors. It is divided into 4 levels: Heaven, Earth, Zan, and Huang. As for the mysterious level soul skills, although they are only 1 level higher than the yellow level, but the power can be said to be very different. If a common soul fighter has mastered a mysterious soul skill, he can rise strongly. Not to mention that this is the soul skill of a Zan level intermediate, which is even rarer. It seems that Yang Dutong paid a lot of money. Su Yi sighed with emotion, and immediately focused on flipping through the cheat books. As a human being in 2 lifetimes, after he knew that there were ferocious beasts in this world, he set extremely strict demands on himself. He does physical strength and combat training every day, so his foundation is very solid, and his ability to comprehend cheats is also very strong. Therefore, although this, Extreme Flame Knife, is the first soul skill he came into contact with, but he still quickly mastered the power-generating technique and the trajectory of the soul power of this soul skill. Call. Half an hour later, Su Yi, who closed the book, let out a long breath, grasped the void in his right hand, and condensed a flaming saber out of thin air. Extreme Flame Knife. With a low shout, the flame war saber dragged a golden red phantom, and slashed through the void with terrifying power. Boom. The saber slashed in the air, but it made a strong muffled sound as if it had hit an entity. Immediately afterwards, a violent flame erupted, and the whole room suddenly became ablaze. If it wasn't for Su Yi controlling the flame that came with the soul ability after releasing it, the entire living room would probably be burned down. This power is so strong. Su Yi's eyes lit up. The Extreme Flame Crazy Saber just now consumed almost 1/10 of his soul power. Although there is no professional measuring instrument, there is no way to measure the attack strength of this slash. But according to his estimation, this blow must be unbearable for ordinary 4th order extraordinary spirit warriors. Moreover, he has just started this soul skill and hasn't fully mastered it yet. After mastering it proficiently, it will definitely become more powerful. The power of soul skills is good, but after entering university, you have to hone your saber skills. The training in junior and senior high schools only involves bare-handed combat, and there is very little weapon training. Although Su Yi usually has his own related training, but the saber technique still needs to be practiced systematically before it becomes more lethal. Boom boom boom. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Those forces came to the door so quickly. Su Yi frowned, waved his right hand, and walked forward after the flaming saber dissipated out of thin air. Crack. Opening the door, a hale and hearty old man stood at the door. Grandfather. Su Yi froze for a moment. This old man is indeed his grandfather, Su Sheng. Xiao Yi. Grandpa Su Sheng shouted with a smile. Then he looked at Su Yi carefully, his eyes lit up, and he exclaimed in surprise. Xiao Yi, it's you who awakened the SSS level martial soul. As an extraordinary soul warrior, although he is a bit older, he can still easily see that compared with before, his grandson Su Yi has undergone tremendous changes. Body, eyes, temperament, are all very different from before. Especially the sense of intimidation emanating from his body was stronger than any S-rank dragon martial soul owner he had ever seen from afar. Grandpa, you already know. While speaking in surprise, Su Yi welcomed his grandfather Su Sheng in. I only said it when I was preparing for the family dinner at night, but I didn't expect you to be so well informed, Grandpa. Your uncle told me. Grandpa Su Sheng took a sip of the tea that Su Yi handed over, with a wider smile on his face and a satisfied look in his eyes. The martial spirit vision that appeared when you awakened is now spreading wildly on the internet. There are 4 people in Su Yi's generation, except for Shu Yao who is still in the 2nd year of high school, the other 3 are all awakening their martial soul today. And he naturally placed high hopes on Su Yi, who has been performing very well all the time. I hope that the other party can awaken a B-level martial soul. Unexpectedly, what Su Yi awakened was an SSS level martial spirit. It really gave him a big surprise. By the way, I have to tell your uncle and the others the good news. Grandpa Su Sheng quickly took out his mobile phone and dialed the numbers one by one. Boss, Xiao Yi is really the one who awakened an SSS level martial soul. Really, I'm at Xiao Yi's place now. Second brother, I'm at Xiao Yi's side now. Well, it's confirmed, it's him. The youngest. On the side, Su watched this scene with a smile on his face. Grandpa Su Sheng was a kind and dignified man. Under his leadership, the atmosphere inside the entire Su family is very warm. There is no such trouble between relatives at all. Whenever something important happens, it is often Grandpa Su Sheng who informs everyone. After a while, Grandpa Su Sheng finished the phone call and was leaving with Su Yi. Xiao Yi, let's go to my side, where the family banquet has already started. Family dinner, doesn't that start at night? Su Yi asked with some surprise. Because several of their juniors have awakened their martial souls this year. So, as early as a few months ago, Grandpa Su Sheng made the decision to have a family dinner tonight. With such a big incident, your uncle and uncle must want to come to see you early, and the family banquet was brought forward to noon by the way. Grandpa Su Sheng laughed, and left here in a hurry with Su Yi. The Su family has a small population, but it is also quite large. Including Su Yi's father Su Heng, there are 4 siblings in total, and Su Yi's father is the 3rd eldest. Because the old man Su Sheng lives in Hangzhou, so all the members of the Su family also live in Hangzhou. After receiving the advance notice of the old man's family banquet, he immediately rushed to the villa. After a while, in the villa in the Zhongbei Riverside community, except for Su Sheng and Su Yi, the rest of the Su family had arrived. Xiao Yi has worked very hard since he was a child. If he can awaken an SSS level martial soul this time, he will definitely soar into the sky in the future. Yes, SSS level martial soul awakeners are extremely rare in the entire Blue Star. Unfortunately, the 3rd child can't see this scene. Everyone in the Su family sat on the sofa and chatted with emotion. After mentioning the dead Su Yi's father, Su Heng, they couldn't help but let out a sigh. Even those juniors who were the same age as Su Yi fell silent. Everyone is here. At this time, Su Sheng took Su Yi into the living room of the villa. Dad, Xiao Yi. Dad, you guys are really slow. Grandpa, bro. Grandpa, brother Yi. Everyone in the Su family calmed down and greeted each other. And Su Yi also politely shouted with a smile on her face. Uncle, aunt. In the hall, there are a total of 3 middle-aged couples, all of whom are his relatives. In addition, there are 3 young men, 2 women and 1 man, who are his cousins of the same generation. Although these relatives all settled in Hangzhou, it is still very rare for all the relatives to be present like this. After saying hello, Su Yi also sat down on the sofa with his grandfather Su Sheng. Brother, have you really awakened an SSS-level martial soul? As soon as she sat down, Xu Yao, who was still a sophomore in high school, came over and asked curiously with her big clear eyes blinking. Hearing this, Su Hao and Su Yu who were beside him hurriedly surrounded him, obviously equally curious. There are 4 members of the Su family juniors. Among them, Su Yi studied in the 3rd high school, Su Hao studied in the 4th high school, Su Yu and Xu Yao studied in the 2nd high school. Although they were in different schools, they all saw the huge vision of the martial soul during the awakening ceremony in the morning. At that time, they were shocked. Now, knowing that the awakened one is big brother Su Yi, they are naturally shocked and curious. Su Yi smiled and nodded. Before he could speak, the uncle Su Cheng next to him laughed and said, SSS level martial spirit, none of us have seen it. Xiao Yi, come, show us. Quote, as soon as the words came out, everyone looked over curiously. SSS level, that is the martial spirit in Legendary. Facing the enthusiastic Su family members, Su Yi smiled slightly and did not refuse. Deathwing. The soul power in his body surged, and the ferocious black dragon gathered behind him. Golden red eyes, domineering appearance. Even though the current Deathwing didn't have the huge body abnormality when he was awakened, the wanton rage and the sudden rise in the surrounding temperature still made everyone in the living room startled. No way, this power is too strong. As for Su Yu, Su Hao and Xu Yao, the 3 of them felt as if they were being targeted by a powerful beast, their heart palpitations and fine sweat oozed from their foreheads. Okay, as expected of an SSS-level martial spirit, full of pressure. The uncle was the first to react, and laughed. Brother, you are too powerful. Brother, your awakened martial spirit is so powerful, much stronger than mine. Brother Yi, you are too strong, I will rely on you to cover me in the future. Among the 4 junior members of the Su family, except for Xu Yao, the other 3 are all 18 years old. And Su Yi's date of birth is the earliest, and he is the eldest brother. So, seeing that the elder brother is really an awakened top martial soul, Xu Yao, Su Yu and Su Hao all had stars in their eyes, and they worshipped him extremely. Xiao Yi, have you entered the extraordinary class? Suddenly, Grandpa Su Sheng said in surprise. Extraordinary order. The second uncle Su Cheng was stunned for a moment, and quickly carefully observed the golden red soul power lingering around Su Yi. Immediately afterwards, his pupils shrank, and he exclaimed in disbelief. It's extraordinary order. Common people, after awakening their martial soul, are born with some soul power. The higher the rare speed of the awakened martial soul, the more soul power it has. But no matter what, the soul power of an awakened person can never reach the condensed level of the extraordinary level. And after his observation, the soul power that diffused from Su Yi's body was extremely condensed. It is even comparable to him, an extraordinary 4th-order spirit warrior. Extraordinary level, just awakened. Xiao Yi is already extraordinary level. It's incredible, it's really incredible. Hey, it took me 2 years to enter the extraordinary class back then. Xiao Yi's speed is too fast. I haven't even sensed the soul energy yet, Brother Yi is already an extraordinary soul warrior. This talent is simply too terrifying. Yi big brother is so powerful, after I awaken my martial spirit, I will be as powerful as him. Quote. For everyone in the Su family, although they know that the SSS level martial spirit is extremely rare, they don't have an intuitive concept. After all, they have never seen the scene of an SSS level soul warrior making a move. But the extraordinary order is different. Everyone present, except Xu Yao, had already tried to cultivate their soul power, including Su Yu and Su Hao who just awakened today. As personal experience, they naturally understand how hard it takes to enter the extraordinary stage. At this moment, I saw that Su Yi entered the extraordinary stage only a few hours after awakening. Naturally, I feel extremely shocked. Sure enough, it's people comparing people, it's maddening. Grandpa Su Sheng couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Back then, it took him almost a year and a half to enter the extraordinary rank. Fortunately, such a genius as my good grandson. Grandpa Su Sheng laughed. The expression of satisfaction on his face was undisguised. He paused and asked curiously. By the way, Xiao Yi, the 3 top schools, which one did you choose in the end? The University of Soul Warriors in the Demon City. Su Yi smiled slightly, and the spirit of Deathwing drew back behind him, and the palpitating pressure suddenly eased a lot. But the golden red in his eyes still gave him a mysterious and gorgeous look. The Demon City Soul Warrior University. Su Sheng pondered for a moment, then looked at Su Yu and Su Hao. Xiao Yu, Xiao Hao, what are your 2 awakened martial souls? B-level plants or martial souls, roses of thorns. The tall and slender Su Yu spoke first. Compared with her younger sister Xu Yao, she is more mature, and her dressing style is more like that of a royal sister. The awakened rose of thorns is also very suitable for her character. C-rank beast-type martial soul, Gale Wolf. Su Hao scratched his head, feeling quite embarrassed. A C-rank martial soul is supposed to be considered a good martial soul. But in front of Su Yu and Su Yi, he looked very rubbish. B-level and C-level. Very good, much better than your father and the others. Your father and the others only awakened a D-rank martial soul back then. Su Sheng's eyes lit up, and the smile on his face became brighter. Xiao Yu, your usual training results are good, plus your B-level martial soul. After the Soul Warrior College entrance examination, the first choice can be filled in the Demon Capital Soul Warrior University. If you can pass the exam, your brother is inside and can take care of you. If you can't get into the first choice, the second and third choices will also fill in the Soul Warrior University in the Devil's City. Even if you are not in the same school, it will be good to be in the same city. As for Xiao Hao, don't think about the Soul Warrior University in the Demon City, just volunteer to fill the Soul Warrior University in the Demon City. Modu is one of the most prosperous cities in China. Being able to go to school there is of great benefit to the future development of these juniors. Okay, Su Yu and Su Hao nodded at the same time. They didn't particularly want to go to the Soul Warrior University, and it would be good to go to Shanghai. And there is also the eldest brother Su Yi, so they naturally have no objection. Xiao Yi, you are the boss. When you go to Shanghai, you have to take care of them both. The capital city is next to the East China Sea. There are a large number of fierce beasts in the ocean, which also attracts a large number of soul fighters to hunt. Therefore, there are countless high-level soul warriors in the capital city, and all forces gather. Although Shanghai also has a powerful security bureau, there is no guarantee that other accidents will happen. As for Su Yi, she has always been very calm. When the time comes, he will be able to take care of the other 2 juniors, so he will feel more at ease. Yes, Su Yi nodded solemnly. Su Yu and Su Hao have a good relationship with him. If they are all in Shanghai in the future, he will naturally take care of them more. Ah, I'm so envious of you guys. You've already graduated from high school, and you plan to go to Shanghai to go to school together. And I have to take another year of class, it's a tragedy on earth. Xu Yao, the youngest, rested her cheek on her right hand and sat on the sofa, feeling unhappy. The 3 of Su Yi are about to graduate and leave, and she will be the only one still in Hangzhou by then. This feeling is really uncomfortable. Hee, then you should work hard and strive to pass the entrance examination in Shanghai next year. At that time, we can get together again. Su Yi smiled and rubbed Xu Yao's little head. The lively and cheerful Xu Yao is the youngest of the 4 and the most popular pistachio. He is also included. I hope that the other party can also be admitted to a university in Shanghai next year. At that time, even if it is an awakened garbage martial soul, it will not be able to enter the Soul Warrior University, and the general arts and science universities will be good. After all, Modu is one of the most prosperous cities in China. Xu Yao nodded emphatically when she heard the words, and secretly took Shanghai as her goal for the college entrance examination. Brother Su, lunch is ready. At this time, the villa nanny came up and said respectfully, Su Yi's grandma, Zhou Qing, passed away due to illness a few years ago. Now in the villa, the nanny is in charge of Su Sheng's daily life. At this time, in the dining room behind the butler, a large round table with a radius of about 1 meter was already filled with sumptuous dishes. The aroma of food wafts throughout the living room. Let's go, get ready for dinner. Grandpa Su Sheng greeted everyone with a smile. Today is the day for the few of you to awaken your martial spirits, eat more, especially Xiao Yi. The daily energy consumption of extraordinary level soul warriors is very large. Grandpa, I know. Today, I specially asked the nanny to prepare some beast meat. Eat more, it's good for your health. Yes, there is my favorite braised pork. Quote. Everyone sat around the round table without any special speeches. Just like the common family, they started the family dinner with a laugh. And Su Yi was not polite either, and ate it openly. He is indeed a little hungry. After all, awakening the martial soul and entering the extraordinary rank consumes a lot of energy. The Zhongbei Lakeside community where Su Sheng lives is a well-known villa area. Not only is the environment quiet, but the security work is also in place. The guards of the community are composed of veterans with gun certificates, and the captain is a first-order extraordinary spirit warrior. Without the invitation of the residents of the community, it is impossible for other strangers to enter the community. As for Su Yi's original address, I'm afraid it has already been known by various forces. Therefore, in order not to be disturbed by these forces, after the family banquet, he did not leave his grandfather Su Sheng's villa, but chose to stay here until the day he had agreed with teacher Kai Wei. 5 days later, the spacious villa training room. A tall figure with a naked upper body was training with a saber in hand. Chop, chop, sweep, pick. The 40 kilograms weight of the alloy sword didn't seem to bring him the slightest burden, and the basic movements of each sword technique were extremely standard. His muscles also swelled slightly due to exertion. Unlike the kind of extremely strong fitness enthusiasts, each of his muscles is not big, but they are very well proportioned. And with the progress of his saber movements, he showed an extreme sense of power. Call. After another set of saber movements, Su Yi stopped training and stood with the saber in his hand. Hot air was rising from his body, and his resolute face was covered with sweat. When he entered the extraordinary stage, his strength also increased, and his single-arm strength reached a terrifying 300 kilograms. This 40-kilogram saber is just right for swinging. Not too light, not too heavy, just enough to work out. Jingling-ling, jingling-ling. At this time, the alarm clock that had been set for 8 o'clock in the morning rang. It's already 8 o'clock. Time flies so fast, it's time to pack up and get ready to go. Today is June 5th, the day to leave Hangzhou to report to Shanghai. And the time agreed with Kai Wei to meet at the Eastern Defense Military Region was 10 o'clock in the morning. Before you leave, try my soul skills again. Su Yi walked to the test equipment in the corner of the training room. Jinred's soul power rose from his body, and the saber was raised slightly. Extreme flame knife. The soul power is entwined on the sword, and the whole sword turns into golden red. Whoosh. With a flash of light, the golden red saber turned into a phantom and slashed at the test instrument in front of him. Boom. Immediately afterwards, the dazzling golden red flames engulfed the entire instrument, and it gradually dissipated after a long while. Attack power, 160 cards. The flame slowly disappeared, and the sound of the test instrument sounded. 160 calories. Not bad. Su Yi nodded in satisfaction. Cards are units of attack power. A common extraordinary slash by a first-order spirit warrior has a strength of about 10 cards. The strength of his common slash is around 40 cards. And this soul skill fully magnified his attack by 4 times, reaching 160 cards. This is the attack strength that a common extraordinary fourth-order soul warrior can only achieve after using soul skills. It can be said to be very strong. After experimenting with soul skills, Su Yi didn't stay long, put on his clothes and walked out of the training room. Half an hour later, Su Yi appeared in the living room of the villa with a refreshed face after taking a shower. Xiao Yi has come out. Elder brother. Brother Yi. In the living room, everyone in the Su family gathered again. Among them are the 3 juniors, Su Yu, Su Hao and Shu Yao. Xiao Yi has come out, let's go. Grandpa Su Sheng waved his hand, and the whole family walked out of the villa in a mighty manner. Yo, Lao Su has come out. Hey, this is a big family that is dispatched. It's rare. I heard that your grandson has awakened a top-notch martial soul, which is very powerful. Quote. On the road of the community, the residents who were taking a walk greeted each other enthusiastically. To send the grandson to school, the whole family must be dispatched together. Su Sheng also responded with a smile. Just 3 days ago, the mayor Zhou Chong and the governor Yang Tianong came to the door at the same time, and the news of his grandson Su Yi's awakening of the SSS-level martial spirit was known to most residents in the community. From then on, every time he went out, no matter whether he knew him or not, he would greet him warmly. Those few old friends who usually have a good relationship even started to introduce their granddaughters. Not to mention, some of them are really good, beautiful, generous, and they are also soul warriors. It's a pity, after he asked Su Yi, he only got a question, I'm leaving in a few days, and I have to stay in Shanghai for 6 years, so I don't have time to fall in love in Hangzhou. Answer. Thinking about it, he didn't force it, and declined those friends. Tread. Just as he was thinking about the situation these days, several middle-aged men in suits walked quickly from the side. Mr. Su, we belong to Tianao Group. I want to talk to classmate Su Yi. Do you think it's okay? The leading man with gold-rimmed glasses said respectfully. As soon as this remark came out, the residents on the road began to whisper. Tianao Group. I heard that the founder behind them seems to be Li Qingfang, who sealed Wang Chang. Hey, the king's power came directly to Su Yi, it's really embarrassing for Su Yi. Hehe, I don't know, those high-level soul warriors that appeared in our community during this period are all for the sake of various forces and for Su Yi. It turns out that's the case. Let me just say, how come there are so many high-level soul warrior residents in our community? Quote. King-level soul warriors are superpowers who are second only to the supreme level. There are only a handful of people with such strength in the entire Huasha kingdom. Even residents with small backgrounds like them rarely have access to the forces created by such strong people. Please. Seeing that Mr. Su didn't stop him, the man with gold-rimmed glasses looked happy, and looked at Su Yi who was behind him. Student Su, although you rejected us last time, our boss is still very interested in you and decided to increase the terms. On the basis of the treaty mentioned last time, we will add another 10 million activity funds per semester. In other words, you can have 30 million activity funds per semester. According to this condition, are you willing to sign a cooperation treaty with us? Quote. The middle-aged man's tone was calm, but the amount of money mentioned in his words scared everyone around him. Add another 10 million activity funds per semester, 30 million activity funds per semester, am I dreaming? Hey, the activity funds for 1 semester are enough to buy 4 or 5 companies like me. Arrogance, it's really too arrogance. Is this the courage of the king's power? It's too strong. Quote. Amidst the shocking discussions of the people around, Su Yi shook his head and refused. Sorry, I have already made a decision, and I don't want to sign a cooperation treaty with any force for the time being. Although the Zhongbei Lakeside community can block the entry of some small forces, it is not difficult for the top forces. In the past few days, he has received 3 or 4 invitations from the king sealing forces one after another. Among them, Tianao Group was the first to come, and the recruitment conditions were also the most generous. Every semester, it will provide a full 30 million activity funds. Of course, they also required themselves to work for the Tianao Group for 3 years after graduating from the Demon City Soul Warrior University. Although they promise that they will not force themselves to do anything they don't want to do during these 3 years. But with Deathwing in the system, how could he sell himself for some activity funds? Therefore, no matter how Tianao Group raises the conditions, he will not agree. Alright then, Su Yi, excuse me. The man with gold glasses sighed softly, knowing that Su Yi had made up his mind and couldn't change it easily. Seeing that the people from the Tianao Group gave up, Su Yi didn't stay any longer, dragged his suitcase, followed behind his grandfather Su Sheng, got into the vehicle parked in front of the villa, and left here. Boss, the mission is over, does our property need to be listed for sale? After watching Su Yi and others leave, someone from Tianao Group asked. This riverside community in Zhongbei is not easy to enter. In order to get closer to Su Yi, they can only buy one property here. Now that the mission is over, the property is useless. No, Su Yi's grandfather lives here and keeps this property. It will be more convenient for us to contact Su Yi again in the future. The man with the gold-rimmed glasses pondered. An SSS-level soul warrior with a bright future. Although the contact was not successful this time, there are still many opportunities in the future. With this property, it will be easier to contact in the future. To be close to Su Yi, it is too luxurious to buy real estate directly. Hehe, what is a piece of real estate compared to an SSS-level martial spirit? That's right, didn't you hear just now that Tianao Group has tens of millions of additional activities in a semester? That's right, my vision is too low. Zhongbei Riverside Community is a well-known villa area in Hangzhou. A villa inside is worth at least 5 million or more. Although the residents who live in this community are relatively wealthy, many of them live in with loans. At this time, seeing that Tianao Group directly left the property idle for Su Yi, they felt that the three views had been subverted. Hangzhou, one of the top 10 base cities in China, is extremely rich. Due to the threat of fierce beasts, the richer the city, the stronger its military power. Hangzhou is no exception. In the four directions of the urban area, the southeast, the north, and the west, there are military areas built respectively, and there are more than 50,000 soldiers in total. Among them, there are almost 5,000 or 6,000 soul warriors. At this time, in the military area located in the east, a convoy came from a distance and stopped at the entrance of the military area. Wow! The car door opened, and a group of people got out of their respective vehicles and walked towards the entrance of the military area. The one walking in front was an old man. 8 or 9 people followed behind him, the most conspicuous of which was a teenager dragging a suitcase. I saw a calm expression on his face, a gorgeous golden red light flashed faintly in his eyes, and a faint sense of oppression exuded from his whole body, which seemed extremely mysterious. This is the Eastern Defense Military Region. It's really magnificent. Su Sheng looked at the magnificent building in front of him like a crawling giant with some emotion. The 4 major military regions are all located in the outer suburbs, and few people come here specially. Today was also the first time he really saw what the military region looked like. Yes, Su Yi smiled and nodded. There are many wilderness areas around Hangzhou, and the level of beasts even has a 4th level appearance, and the strength is equivalent to that of a marquis level soul warrior. In order to ensure the safety of the base city to the greatest extent, the larger the military region, the better. A group of people discussed with emotion, and soon walked to the entrance of the military area. Military area, please show your ID. The armed guard at the door said without looking sideways. Around him, many soldiers turned their attention to this side. Once they found something unusual about Su Yi and the others, they would act immediately. What a tight defense. Single quote. Su Yi was secretly startled. Besides the guards with guns on the surface, he could also feel a few secret auras locked on him. Judging from the strength of the breath, they are at least the 6th or even 7th order powerhouses of extraordinary. Although surprised, Su Yi didn't show anything on his face. He took out his ID card and handed it over. Hi, I'm Su Yi who agreed to meet here with teacher Kai Wei. This is my ID. Special enrollment for the Soul Warrior University in the Demon City. The guard with the gun obviously received the corresponding notice before that, and nodded after confirming that there was no problem with the certificate. The special enrollment status is confirmed, and you can enter the military area, but family members do not have permission to enter. It looks like we're going to part ways here. Su Yi turned around and looked helplessly at the people behind him. Grandpa, uncle, second uncle, aunt, Su Hao, Su Yu and Shu Yao, all members of the Su family are here. Go ahead, we're almost here. Although Grandpa Su Sheng was a little bit reluctant, the kind smile on his face remained unchanged. Xiao Yi, let's go, you have to train hard when you go to college. Brother, wait for me at school, I will definitely be admitted to the Demon City Soul Warrior University. And me, Brother Yi, although I can't be admitted to the Soul Warrior University in Shanghai, I can still be admitted to other Soul Warrior universities in Shanghai. Quote. Everyone in the Su family bid farewell one after another. The juniors Su Yu, Su Hao and Shu Yao even had tears in their eyes. I'm going to school, not what to do, why are you crying? Su Yi laughed and cursed at Su Yu and the others, then waved his hand. Grandpa, uncle, you go back, I will call you again when I arrive in Shanghai. After speaking, Su Yi walked into the military area led by a man in military uniform. Xiao Yi will take a long time to come back after leaving. Seeing Su Yi disappearing into the military zone, Su Sheng couldn't help but sigh. Hey, won't Soul Warrior University have winter and summer vacations? Shu Yao, who was still a sophomore in high school, uttered a horrified expression with a shocked expression. She felt that taking 2 vacations a year was too little, and if she didn't take it once a year, it would kill her. Revenant University, like common university, has 2 holidays a year, but most people don't choose to go home during the holidays. Su Yu's voice sounded next to him. The overall appearance of the Su family is good, and Su Yu, who is the same age as Su Yi, is even more outstanding. Not only the appearance is of school beauty level, but also the voice is melodious, which makes people feel like spring breeze. Why? Shu Yao's big clear eyes were full of doubts. It's too silly to have endless holidays. Because there is a lot of competition in the Demon City Soul Warrior University. Su Hao also stepped in. At this time, the eyes of this boy who was several months younger than Su Yi radiated wisdom. As the top Soul Warrior University in China, there are countless geniuses gathered in the magic capital Soul Warrior University. The children of powerful families, the descendants of those who were named Hu Chang, and even the descendants of those who were named Wang Chang can all be found in this school. And these people have a strong background, abundant resources. The promotion speed is fast. Brother Yi wants to compete with these people on the same stage. Even if he has an SSS level martial soul, he still needs to work harder. It is basically impossible to take such a luxurious vacation twice a year. Quote. Soul fighters need to consume a lot of resources to advance quickly. Even if the awakening is a top martial soul, it may not be able to gain the upper hand in the face of the crazy resources piled up by the descendants of Wang Chang. After all, being able to enter the Demon City Soul Warrior University means that the opponent's awakened martial spirit is not too bad. Competition. Is it okay if Yi big brother doesn't fight with them? Shu Yao said innocently. Warriors must compete. If you want to become stronger, you must compete with those geniuses. If you don't want to become stronger, of course you don't need to compete, but do you think this is possible for Brother Yi? Su Hao rolled his eyes. 2. Thinking of the character of Big Brother Su Yi, Shu Yao suddenly understood. My big brother has a calm and resolute personality, and has extraordinary perseverance in becoming stronger. When I was in junior high school, I started training to strengthen my physical fitness. As far as she knows, up to now, Su Yi big brother still conducts high-intensity training for 3 hours every day. Now that he has awakened his martial soul and become a soul warrior, he will definitely not relax. With such a personality, telling the opponent to give up the competition and become stronger is tantamount to nonsense. Such high-intensity training every day can still guarantee the first place in the school in liberal arts, and the whole city is among the best. I don't know how Yi big brother learned. Thinking of this, Shu Yao couldn't help muttering. The younger generation of the Su family has good grades in liberal arts, but she is the only one who is not warm in the class and belongs to the middle position. But her fighting training is not bad, and she is in the top 50 in the whole number. 2 Middle school. Okay, Xiao Yi is gone, let's go back to. At this time, the reluctance in Su Sheng's heart also eased a lot. He didn't stay here any longer, and led a group of people to turn around and leave. On the other side, Su Yi walked into the military building under the leadership of the men in military uniform, and stopped in an open area after making several turns. Student Su, we're here. Trouble. Su Yi thanked and carefully observed the area in front of him. This is an open area the size of 3 football fields. In the middle, there are 4 or 5 black tracks with a width of 3 meters. At this time, on the leftmost track, there is a silver-white train about 20 meters long. There are many soldiers around who are carrying supplies to this train. Maglev train. Seeing this, Su Yi frowned. Maglev train is a means of transportation. It is similar to the high-speed rail in the previous life, but the speed is faster. Moreover, since the train may pass through wilderness areas where wild beasts are rampant, each train is equipped with a high-voltage arc network. Once the train starts, a high-voltage arc covers the entire surface of the train. Arc protection, coupled with the 350 km per hour limit speed of the maglev train itself, after the train starts, it is like a super electromagnetic gun. With such power, even a second-tier ferocious beast would not dare to try its edge. Judging from the current situation, he should take this train to Shanghai later. But why not just use the plane? Su Yi was a little puzzled. Although the train has an arc protection mechanism, if you are unlucky and encounter a fierce beast attack when passing through the wilderness area, it still takes a lot of effort. If you are flying, you can fly directly over the wilderness area, and you can reach your destination in less than 20 minutes. Take a plane, but it's much more dangerous than taking a train. Accompanied by a crisp voice, Kai Wei walked from the side with a smile. Compared with 5 days ago, her dressing status has changed a lot. The original loose-fitting white instructor uniform became a slightly tight-fitting black combat uniform, and the plump figure was perfectly outlined. The convex is convex, and the concave is concave. And although she had a smile on her face, she exuded a palpitating aura like a ferocious beast. Su Yi knew that this was the reason why the spirit warriors of the Tiangong rank let go of their aura a little. Teacher Kai, Su Yi called out hastily. Kai Wei nodded and continued. Although there are fewer ferocious beasts in the sky than those in the wilderness, they are all stronger overall. If you are unlucky and encounter a third-order beast that is equivalent to Tiangong, even I can't protect you. Quote. I see. With Kai Wei's explanation, Su Yi immediately understood. Although Teacher Kai Wei has the ability to fly, she is still far behind the third-order beasts of birds. Once she is attacked by a third-order bird beast during the flight, Kai Wei may be able to protect herself according to the terrifying flying speed of the beast, but students like them can only be reduced to prey. But if you take the train, you don't have to face these problems. At least, when fierce beasts attack, you don't have to worry about being smashed to pieces. As long as you know. Kai Wei nodded and led Su Yi towards the train. Our magic capital Soul Warrior University has specially recruited 4 students in your Jiangnan province this time. Except for you, the remaining 3 have arrived. Quote. Only recruited 4 students. Su Yi was taken aback. You must know that in the hundreds of years after the appearance of soul warriors, human beings have recuperated and the population has increased dramatically. The population of the entire Huasha kingdom is almost 1 billion. As a populous province, Jiangnan province has a population of more than 40 million. Among them, there are at least 1 million people who have reached the age of 18 this year and awakened their martial souls. In other words, out of 1 million students, only 4 special students were selected. 1 in 200,000, what a terrifying screening rate. Every special recruit needs to sign a special recruit contract. Naturally, we must choose the best from the best. Kai Wei brushed her hair with her right hand, and led Su Yi into the first carriage of the train. Hello, Teacher Kai. Teacher Kai. Hello, Teacher Kai. Inside the carriage, 3 voices sounded one after another. With a glance, Su Yi saw 2 girls and a boy standing in the carriage. These 3 people should be the other 3 special recruits. Sure enough, Kai Wei nodded and said casually. Okay, the 4 special recruits are all here, let's get to know each other. During these 5 days, Kai Wei has been competing for talents with people from the other 2 schools, intriguing. Now that the special recruitment is over, she finally has some time to breathe, so she naturally doesn't want to waste time on introducing the students. Hangshi, Su Yi, nice to meet you all. Su Yi smiled slightly and spoke first. Su Yi, I know you, you are the one who awakened the SSS martial soul. The eyes of the girl on the far left lit up, and she looked at Su Yi excitedly. I'm Zhao Ruo, nice to meet you. All admissions information is confidential. Before the meeting, the tutor will not disclose relevant information. Therefore, she was naturally a little excited when she suddenly found out that the SSS level martial soul awakener was in the same school as her. A man and a woman next to him were also a little surprised when they heard this. Unexpectedly, the SSS level martial soul awakener who has been in the limelight recently went to the same school as me. Hello. Su Yi nodded and observed the girl carefully. This girl named Zhao Ruo has a small round face, is about 160 centimeters tall, wears double ponytails and is dressed in a cute style. It is a little beauty. Fengan City, Anlingshuang. Compared with Zhao Ruo, the tall and slender girl named Anlingshuang next to her had a much colder tone, a bit like an iceberg beauty. Of course, her pretty face is indeed worthy of this title. Especially the tear mole at the corner of her eye added a different charm to her. Hello. Su Yi didn't care either, and also greeted with a smile. My name is Zhang Yi, and I'm also from Hangzhou City. I used to go to number 4 middle school. The last thin boy showed a simple and honest smile. From number 4 middle school. Do you know Su Hao? Su Yi raised her eyebrows. Her cousin Su Hao is in number 4 middle school. Su Hao, I know you, we are buddies. Zhang Yi was a little stunned, and then thought of something, with a look of surprise on his face. I remembered, you are Ah Hao's brother. He knew that Su Hao had a big brother named Su Yi. However, he only met once in junior high school, so he didn't recognize him at the first time. However, this guy Ah Hao has such a strict tongue, he doesn't even tell the truth to me. Zhang Yi couldn't help complaining. After learning that the name of the SSS level martial soul awakener was Su Yi, he asked Su Hao if that was his brother, but the answer he got was no. Unexpectedly, Su Hao was lying to him. Brother Su, you're tired from coming all the way, come on, sit here. Knowing that Su Yi is Su Hao's cousin, Zhang Yi immediately warmed up and invited them to sit together. Su Yi didn't refuse either, and sat down with a smile. Ms. Kai, have all the special recruits arrived? At this time, a man in military uniform with a Chinese character face walked into the carriage, talking and scanning the people in the carriage. Another high-level soul warrior. Single quote. Su Yi, who was glanced at by the other party, only felt a chill in his heart. Different from the aura of Kai Wei, the aura of the man in the military uniform is even fiercer, and has a very strong murderous aura. This kind of murderous aura can only be formed after years of desperate fighting with fierce beasts. If ordinary people were to face this kind of momentum suddenly, they would be shocked and speechless on the spot. Well, it's all here. Kai Wei replied lazily, then closed her eyes and rested her mind after speaking, obviously very tired. The man in military uniform didn't care about it, and after scanning everyone around, he slowly said, I am the Commander-in-Chief of the Eastern Defense Military Region, Zhengzhen. This train is a special train for our Hangzhou military to transport supplies to the magic capital, and it can be said to be the highest in safety. Of course, there is also the possibility of encountering a fierce beast attack on the way. When the time comes, I hope you can all listen to my command arrangements. Do you all understand? Quote. Zheng Zhen's voice was extremely low, with an undeniable majesty. Clear. The four of Su Yi quickly agreed. Just kidding, this trip is going through a dangerous wilderness area. If you don't obey the command, you don't even know how you died. I didn't expect that besides Teacher Kai, even the commander-in-chief of the military region would personally escort us. This is really great. After Zheng Zhen sat down, Zhang Yi whispered excitedly. Su Yi also nodded with a smile. The commander-in-chief of each of the 4 major military regions in Hangzhou is at the peak of the Disha rank. The commander-in-chief at the peak of Disha, coupled with the teacher Kai Wei who has the strength of Tiangong level, this safety factor is directly full. Zzz. Not a while after Zheng Zhen came in, the maglev train loaded with all the supplies suddenly started under the watchful eyes of the soldiers in the surrounding space. With the blue arc all over her body, she quickly accelerated her speed and galloped forward along the track. Except for the front of the driver, the maglev train has a total of 9 carriages. The last 8 carriages are full of supplies, and the first carriage is for Su Yi and others. Unlike the common train cars, there are only 3 rows of seats in the first car, with 2 seats in each row, and a total of 6 seats. Sitting at the front are Kai Wei and Zheng Zhen. In the middle are Su Yi and Zhang Yi, and at the back are Zhao Ruo and Enling Shuang. Except for Kai Wei and Zheng Zhen, everyone is 18 years old and at the age of youth, and they are going to the same university. So, not long after the train started, they chatted. Among them, the lively and cute girl Zhao Ruo is the most active. Even in Ling Shuang, a girl with a cold terre mole, interjected from time to time, saying a few words, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. Brother Su, can you tell us how many martial soul talents you have? After chatting for a while, Zhang Yi asked curiously. SSS level martial souls, you can have at least 3 martial soul talents. Zhao Ruo's eyes lit up, and she leaned forward, while Ning Shuang, who was next to her, turned slightly sideways when she heard the words. 5. In the chat just now, Su Yi already learned that Zhang Yi awakened the A-level martial spirit Flaming Tiger, Zhao Ruo awakened the A-level Wuhun Shadow Cat, and Ning Shuang awakened the S-level Extremely Cold Ice Lotus. They all have a martial soul talent. Since everyone had told their respective situations before, there was no need for him to hide it. 5. Zhao Ruo's eyes were wide open, and his surprised mouth could almost stuff an egg. This gap is too big. Martial soul talent can only be possessed by S-rank martial soul awakeners. Of course, some A-level martial soul awakeners can also have it, which is the case with her and Zhang Yi. This is also one of the reasons why they can be specially recruited into the Demon City Soul Warrior University. A single martial soul talent can make them be specially recruited. In her opinion, Su Yi's 5 martial soul talents are simply unimaginable. 5 martial soul talents, Brother Su, you are too strong. Zhang Yi also clicked her tongue in amazement and gave a thumbs up, further admiring Su Yi. Martial soul talent is divided into passive talent and active talent, but no matter what type of martial soul talent, the power will increase with the level of the soul fighter. Like himself, if he can enter the king rank in the future, then after his martial soul talent is used, the power is at least equivalent to an earth-level primary soul skill. If Su Yi enters the king rank, at least the power of the soul skills of the heaven rank will be displayed with the martial soul talent. You know, the display of martial soul talent does not need to consume soul power. That is to say, once Su Yi enters the king rank, he can use the 6 heavenly rank soul skills without any consumption. What a horror! So far so good. Su Yi waved his hand with a calm tone. If they knew that they still had a few talents that had not been unsealed, they would probably be too shocked to eat. 5 martial soul talents, is this the SSS level martial soul awakener? A trace of sadness flashed across Ling Shuang's pretty face. As an S-rank martial soul awakener, she actually has a hint of pride and complacency. But now, compared with the SSS level martial spirit, her S-level martial spirit is far behind. Demon City Soul Warrior University, in a large conference hall. In the conference hall, the decoration is luxurious, and the accessories randomly displayed around exude strong soul energy fluctuations. Giant demon ape, wind speed leopard, flame dragon. On the 4 walls of the conference hall, there are vivid paintings of powerful martial spirits of the beast system. In the middle of the conference hall, there is a huge conference table. This conference table is made of unknown materials, and the whole body glows with a mysterious black light. At this time, the 6 chairs surrounding the black conference table. Among the 5 chairs, there are 5 instructors wearing instructor uniforms. Although these 5 instructors did not let go of their aura, the occasional flashes of brilliance in their eyes showed that they were extremely powerful. Everyone, Su Yi, the SSS level martial soul Deathwing awakener, will be entering our school today. One of the bald men said. Not surprisingly, he should be assigned to the 10,000 Beasts Academy. After the official report, which one of you is willing to be his exclusive mentor? Quote. I'll come, my strength at the peak of Tiangong is the most suitable for me. Fart, are you still at the peak of Tiangong? I think you are still far behind. Hee, don't quarrel, of all the people present, only I am a dragon martial soul. It is most suitable for me to be the exclusive instructor. Quote. After the words fell, the remaining 4 people all opened their mouths to fight, and their faces were red. If this scene was seen by the students of the Magic Capital Soul Martial Arts University, they would definitely be shocked and dumbfounded. You know, the instructors here are all the group with the strongest comprehensive strength in the 10,000 Beasts Academy. I've never seen them behave like this before. Forehead. For this scene, the bald man who spoke earlier seemed to have expected it. After all, this is an SSS level martial soul awakener. It is a great honor to be the teacher of the other party. Everyone listen to me. The bald man coughed dryly. Su Yi's Deathwing is a dragon-like martial spirit. I think it should be taught by teacher Wang Li. What do you guys think? Quote, Wang Li, the awakener of the A-level martial soul Scarlet Flame Dragon of the Mortal Soul Martial Arts University and 10,000 Beasts Academy, although his strength is only a high-level Tiangong, he has not yet reached the peak. But it is more than enough to teach a genius who has not yet grown up. When the other 4 people heard the words, one of them showed a look of surprise, and the other 3 looked unwilling, but they still nodded in agreement. No comment, no comment, no comment. Han Li, a bald man, is the dean of the 10,000 Beasts Academy. His strength has reached the peak of Tiangong, and he is about to enter the rank of Marquis. Now that the other party has set the tone, it's useless for them, mentors, to object. Well, today's meeting ends here. Just as Han Li was about to announce the end of the meeting, there was a ding-dong, and a message appeared on his phone. Han Li frowned. Before starting the meeting, he had already set his phone to silent mode. If it weren't for the news from those big figures, there would be no notification sound. Thinking of this, he quickly picked up his phone and clicked on the message. The news wasn't long, but Han Li's pupils shrank when he saw the news, and he didn't look away for a long time. Dean Han, what's the matter? A teacher who noticed the change in Han Li's face asked. Su Yi's exclusive tutor has changed. Han Li took a deep breath, slowly raised his head, and said in a deep voice. Vice Principal Zhang Daoyuan will serve as his exclusive mentor and accept him as an apprentice. What? Vice Principal Zhang actually wants to take on apprentices? Hiss, I remember that all the students he has accepted in the past few years are registered students, formal apprentices. It has been more than 10 years since he has accepted any more students. Yeah, I didn't expect him to be moved this time. Quote. In the conference hall, the teachers who were originally unwilling were all relieved. Even Wang Li, who was robbed of his students, did not show any dissatisfaction. After all, that Marquis rank powerhouse who awakened the S-level meteorite dragon. The strongest leader of the 10,000 Beasts Academy. There is a seat reserved for him in the conference hall of 10,000 Beasts Academy. If such a person wants to personally teach the students, they will naturally not have any objections. Tisk tisk, Mr. Zhang is going to accept apprentices. Dean Han Li couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Although all their teachers will guide the students of 10,000 Beasts Academy. But this is just the most common guide, and will not involve your own core cheats. But private tutors are different. As long as you become the exclusive mentor of the other party, it is similar to accepting apprentices in ancient times. He will guide his students wholeheartedly and pass on his skills. And that Zhang Daoyuan's inheritance is exactly what countless dragon soul warriors dream of. Okay, let's stop here today, let's adjourn the meeting. Having confirmed Su Yi's final exclusive mentor, there is no need for this meeting to continue. But these teachers were still discussing this matter when they left. After all, behind this news, there is more than just accepting apprentices. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.